Now we can talk like men. Welcome back to episode 3 of the Now We Can Talk Like Men podcast. Once again, we're going to get into some of our favorite topics. We'll talk a little bit of sports, Louisville, Kentucky fans, one Kentucky fan, and we're going to talk about some of the sports pertaining to them, as well as we're going to get into some fun nonsense, if you want to say. We did a draft last week. We're going to keep that trend going up. Another fun draft. We'll tease it. We'll say that it's going to be movie related, a specific time frame, if you will. Probably our childhood will be the one that we really focus in on. But and then we're also going to talk about some other topics that we have. If you guys are new here, do me a solid favor, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button while you're here right now. Subscribe to the channel, and of course hit that bell icon to stay notified for all of our videos that we drop. We've been doing a lot of shorts, a lot of fun content going in here. Let me go ahead, in case this is the first time you guys are seeing this, and introduce the cast that we have here. Let's start from the far end, and we got Ashton, the Coach Bailey. We got Dwight
at Coach A. Bailey,
attorney at law, Young. We got Brian. What do you do? Yo. Brian Powell, and I'm Justin Sofro. I guess I'm just emceeing this to begin with, but then we're going to get into some fun topics. I just want to go ahead and get into it. Start off, Dwight. We're going to get into it. One of the things we do here on the channel that we have a lot of fun with is we get into bourbons. We're Kentucky natives of Louisville, Kentucky. And thankfully, because of that, we have a lot of a plethora of options when it comes to bourbon, things that we can look into, things that we can buy that we have access to.
Justin, they already know because they are religious subscribers and they watch all of our videos.
Absolutely.
So we don't need to.
Our wives that are watching this are having a lot of fun right now.
Yeah. But no, if you're a bourbon enthusiast, this is still really fun. Like, you saw the first episode, we had one bourbon and we tried to guess what it was. We ranked it, all that stuff. Brian and I are the only ones that really are into these super, allocated bourbons. So one thing we're trying to do for Justin, especially, Ashton a little bit, is to say, all right, well, here's the difference between a bourbon you can get at the store versus a bourbon that is, very special, very limited release, hand selected barrels. And we actually did a great job, I thought, last episode. We were easily able to detect which was the allocated bourbon, which was the other. If you watched it, we had a Michter's barrel strength bourbon, and we had American whiskey Michter's, and it was pretty clear which was which. This, I think, is going to be a lot tougher because we are doing a bourbon that is similar in proof, which last episode it wasn't. We're also doing one that's similar in age. The only real difference between these two is one was hand-selected barrels from the master distiller of the distillery. And to just give you a little bit of a tease of the distillery that we're doing, it is the first bottled bourbon. So if you didn't know this, bourbon used to not be able to be bought in a bottle. You used to have to go to like your saloon, and you'd go with a jug and you would hand it to the bartender. They would pour you in your jug bourbon that came from the back. That actually had a lot of problems to it. So now this distiller was the first bottled bourbon. Also, it stayed in business during Prohibition. So if you don't know what Prohibition was, it's when alcohol was not legal, basically. So for medicinal purposes, this distillery was able to stay in business. So that's a little tease for you. We'll get into to which bottles we're drinking, but I think it's going to be a lot harder to decipher which is which.
With like the history of bourbon, I don't know how much when it comes to all that, but like what's the real difference when they were coming up with this and they were creating the idea of Kentucky bourbon? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the idea? Like, what's the difference of that and then like what we know as whiskey? Like, in Ireland, you think of whiskey.
Yep.
All across the United States, but like, what was the difference that they said we're calling this bourbon and up yours if you don't like it?
So that's a great question, and Brian, keep me honest if I miss anything, because there are a list of things that make something a bourbon versus a whiskey. So every bourbon is whiskey, not every whiskey is bourbon.
Correct.
So that's one thing to keep in note. There is a common misconception that bourbon has to be from Kentucky. That's not true. A lot of it is from Kentucky. Primarily, that's because of the water in Kentucky. We have good water from our limestone. Yep. And but one thing it does have to do, it has to be from the U.S. So if it's from another state, if it's from Canada, it has to be whiskey.
Right.
Another thing, it has to be from new oak barrels. So you can't put it in a used barrel.
Charred.
It has to be a charred oak barrels. That's right. And so if it's not from a charred oak barrel, it can't be whiskey. So if you take a barrel, you make bourbon out of it, you bottle it, you can't reuse that barrel. you know, that barrel's done. The only thing you can do for it is make whiskey, or you can put beer in it, make barreled beer, you know, bourbon barreled beer.
Yeah. We're not doing any brands.
Right.
But yeah.
So anyways,
they want to send me some stuff.
Another thing, it has to be at least 51% corn. So, you know, I love a good rye whiskey, and a rye whiskey is when it's 50% or more rye. For it to be bourbon, it has to be over 50% corn. The other thing is the proof. So it has to be bottled at least 80 proof. It has to go into the barrel at no more than 125 proof, and it has to be distilled at lower than 160 proof. Now, one thing that's interesting is you might have heard me say it has to go into the barrel at no more than 125 proof. And a lot of you may say, well, that's weird because I've seen bourbon that's 130, 140. And that's because of during the maturation process, you know, there's evaporation. A lot of the bourbon goes into the wood that raises the proof. So even though it went in at a certain proof, it can come out higher in the bottle. So I think that's all. Or did I miss any?
I think that's it. The sugars and the water actually react, and that's what causes the higher.
Yeah. And another thing too, that I think I forgot to add is you can't add anything to it but water. So you can add water to it to like bring the proof down after that, but you can't add flavoring. You can't add, you know, sugars. You can't add.
It says peach flavored something. It's whiskey.
It's whiskey.
It's not bourbon.
All that comes from the barrel, correct? Like the flavors.
Yeah,
So like
you're not dumping fruits in there. You're not dumping caramels in there. The flavor notes that you're tasting come strictly from the charred barrel.
One last fun fact before we get into the kind of the meat of the episode. You know, one reason that this distillery decided to be the first bottled bourbon is back in the day, people wanted to make bourbon quicker, you know, so they wanted to get that like copper. As you can see, it's like a nice copper color without having to age it. That copper color comes from that whiskey being in the barrel for a long time. So they would add stuff like platoon juice. Like they would literally put tobacco juice in the stuff.
I was about to ask what platoon juice.
They would put nails in it. They would put like chocolate. They would put all this dark stuff, and a lot of people were like getting sick and dying. And so this distillery was like, well, I'm going to put it in a bottle, put my name on it, put a tax strip on it, let you know like this is legit. You're not going to get sick. You're not going to like get gut rot and die. Right. So anyways, we'll find out what they are. I think it's going to be close. I think some of us may pick the non-allocated product today. So
their colors are super similar. I last time knew immediately just because of how light the one color of the one was.
I love when he says some of us, he means me or Ashton.
No,
more likely
no,
me.
not at all. Because
I already disagree with Brian though, because I feel like one of them's much lighter than the other one.
But I'm going to be really sad when most of us pick the non-allocated because I spent significantly more money on the allocated. So that's going to make me sad. All right. But I think the meat of this episode, we wanted to talk about conference alignment. So if you're interested in that.
Or the realignment of it.
The realignment.
Specifically the ACC.
Specifically, I think right now, so that's the main topic we're going to talk about sport-wise. Like I said, we're Louisville fans and a Kentucky fan, but this really affects the entire college landscape right now. And I really want to get your all's feelings. Ashton, this might be a good topic for you, especially giving your, you know, access to football and then recruiting and all that within the high school ranks. Obviously, University of Louisville got into the ACC back in 2014, joined officially. Unfortunately, though, over time, you've seen the way the college landscape has really panned out. I won't say fallen apart, but kind of gone right into SEC's always been strong. And then the Big Ten, both of those two conferences have really put themselves head and shoulders above everybody else, especially because financials. When it comes to the money aspect, you have deals with ESPN. And then I think the Big Ten right now, let me go ahead and I have to go to my notes to make sure. But yeah, the Big Ten just signed on a new deal with CBS, Fox, and NBC for nearly $1.1 billion, which divided by the 16 schools since they added USC and UCLA. That puts them at about $70 million per school that they're getting. The SEC right now, I think in 2021 they were getting $55 million per school. I think it's probably going to go up a little bit here as well, but I don't know if it's going to match that kind of money. But both of those much more than you're seeing schools like in the ACC that are getting.
So go ahead.
No, well, I was just going to lay it out real quick. Well, all I was going to say was right now, the thing that's been happening, and it's kind of cooled down a little bit, but this is a story that's I feel like it's going to be a perpetual issue for the schools that are the have-nots, the ones that are you may be Power 5, but you're not in the SEC or the Big Ten. You're never going to feel safe. Louisville being in the ACC, you have the 7 ACC schools right now that. Because of the meetings that went on with the ACC and Phillips out there, who doesn't know what he's doing. Honestly, he really doesn't. And they've been trying to throw their weight around. You have, of course, the ones we all know, the Clemsons, the Florida States that are out there trying to get more money. Clemson, you have a right. Florida State, historically, you have it, but it's been a little while since you've been that good. Right. It's been since.
So they've been dubbed the Magnificent Seven, which includes University of North Carolina State, Miami, Florida State, Clemson, Virginia, and Virginia Tech.
And it must be nice to be North Carolina State, just riding North Carolina's coattails and just whatever. Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel being a U of L fan and you are not magnificent?
Well,
how does it feel to not be magnificent? We could be magnificent.
We could be magnificent.
Well, actually, there were. Greg Swain was not a good source. Floated out there that there could be a magnificent 8th member at Louisville, and that the reason is there's rumors out there that there's continued supposedly, and I don't know. He got kind of poo-pooed by a lot of the local media, but when it also comes to, especially because they're so big ACC right now supporting the ACC, and I tend to agree that he is probably fake news when it comes to that. But at the same time, about interest from the Big 12 in Louisville, which would make sense. Again, Big 12 is still not the most stable conference. You have Texas and Oklahoma leaving, though. If you're thinking about Louisville, if you still have a doorway and entryway to get into the playoff, especially with it expanding, that could be a fine landing spot. The ACC could be fine as well if you just stay there, especially if you have Clemson and Florida State leaving. Then that opens it up a little bit. Jeff Brom getting a lot of good recruits.
So when you initially sent this out of like what we were going to talk about, and I started reading into this more because I honestly hadn't followed any of it, and then I started reading into it, and then I see the list of schools that I just talked about. Mm-hmm. Like you said, Clemson,
Miami.
You are a perennial every year. You're a top 10, top 5 football team. And we're talking mainly football because that's the big money. That's what pushes things.
For the most part, they put their Clemsoning ways behind them.
Yeah, like so,
they are SEC without being SEC. Like you could kind of, but like would you say Clemson
because they win? Is that why you're saying they're SEC without being SEC?
Well, it's the South. It's
because
like
they go to the playoffs. They win a little bit.
No, but what I'm saying is like if you go to Clemson, if you go to the games, the way the culture, the investment, the Southern hospitality, it fits SEC. I even said
it means more.
Okay, yes, it means more. Like when I went on vacation, there was a part of me like we went down to Florida last year, and we're traveling. You go through Tennessee and all that, and like just going through Alabama, and like it's such a different culture than here. But like Kentucky can't claim it, but like
yes, we can.
Okay, fraudulently, but like the football culture is so different when you go down there. Like it's an entire lifestyle. It ain't just wake up on Saturday, go to a game, maybe be sad for a little bit, and then you move on. It's 24/7, and like that's kind of what basketball is here, obviously. Well, except for if you're Kenny Payne, but but otherwise, it's just I get it. Like it rubbed off a little bit on me.
But going back, like through those 7 schools, like I said, Clemson, yes, they can argue, yeah, we deserve more money, and you really can't argue against that because they've played really well every year, just about. Like they're always in the conversation,
carrying
of a top. They're the perennial power. Like you said, Florida State, yes, back in the Bobby Bowden days, absolutely. But what have you done for me lately?
Right.
You've always got the brand of Florida State.
I do love that you have to go back to the Bobby Bowden days. It's been a little bit.
Like, now Mike Norville the last year, a little bit better. Miami, absolute dumpster fire of a program. Virginia, oh my goodness gracious, that's awful. North Carolina, Mac Brown, I think, has done a really good job. You loved him when he was at Texas. I think he is a really good coach, and I think he's got that program trending upward.
Well, Larry Fedora had a pretty good. He had a good run, and he looks great shirtless.
Well, the ceiling is the roof in North Carolina.
The ceiling is the roof. But I mean, we're talking 6 schools that have been mediocre to in the ACC the last 5 to 10 years, and then you've got Clemson.
Yeah.
If Clemson wants more money, give them a little more money. That's fine with me. If it honestly keeps them in the ACC and not leaving for the SEC, Now,
So educate me on this though. Is it only about money, or is it also about status? Because if the Big Ten and the SEC just keep expanding, at some point I feel like if you're Clemson or if you're Florida State, even if you're Louisville, you don't want to feel left out.
So today they actually did change. Today they changed the revenue distribution starting in the 2024 season.
Yep.
Basically saying, they're still going to give everybody equal amount.
It's going to be incentive based.
It's incentive based. So if you win, you're going to get more money. Essentially is what it boils down to on that. So
I think honestly that's probably the safer way to do it, because if Clemson has a down year, that you don't just get extra money for getting extra money. But also Clemson and Florida State who's had down years, they want the extra money just to get extra money because they're Florida State. So I don't know if that's enough to appease them and to keep them from looking at other conferences. Honestly, I don't really care, because I care about it, but my main issue is this. In any other sport, so like you look at NBA, NFL, anything like that, the have-nots, the teams that are struggling, what do you get? You get better options to get better players, right?
Unless you're the Pistons and you get screwed in the draft lottery. Good Lord.
Exactly. but otherwise, like if you try to look at it from a collegiate standpoint, if you're going to keep, I guess rewarding's good, but if you're going to keep helping the haves, so you just keep pouring money into those teams. And one of the reasons they're complaining is because the ACC doesn't do anything to help their status, like you said. What you're hurting them more by taking more money away from the lower level schools that could be doing better if they were able to put more money into NIL, into the facilities and stuff like that. I'm not saying that we need to drag along Boston College to be a good team every year or anything like that, but at the same time, try to distribute enough so that way you have a good conference, something that's competitive, something that helps your resume in the end, and then you don't have to worry about anybody else.
See, that's the thing I think about is resume. Like if you are Clemson, or even if you're Louisville or whoever, you're going to have to put together a 1-loss or undefeated season, I would think, to get into the playoffs versus an SEC team who you could probably get away with 1 or 2 losses. If you're playing Texas, Alabama, A&M, like Auburn, you're playing your strength of schedule is going to be so high. So I feel like if you are in the ACC, your margin for error has to be razor thin.
If you're Clemson and you lose to Virginia, you're probably not making the playoffs.
Right.
If you, like you said, if you're Alabama and you lose to a good LSU team, and it's a close game, you're gonna get in.
You're fine. Because you're gonna have opportunities to play Texas, play Oklahoma,
especially with the expansion happening. Is that happening this year or next year?
What do you mean?
The expanded playoffs. I think it's next year.
It's next year, I believe.
What's the situation with the 8th potential team legally being able to dissolve the conference? Have you guys heard about that? If 8 teams in the conference want to...
Which is probably why they were pushing for Louisville to be the 8th team.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It
It all has to do with the grant of rights, and I even have it here in my sheet of lies, where I put... So the grant of rights is basically what's keeping all these teams in It's what they call it in radio. Sorry, I'm a professional radio guy. No, but okay, in my sheet of lies.
That's what they say in the biz.
That's what they call it in the biz.
Can we get a graphic sheet of lies?
So yes. So the grant of rights is what's really keeping all the teams here. The reason that Clemson and Florida State haven't left, because if they didn't have the grant of rights, which is an agreement that they've signed with the ACC, that ACC has signed with ESPN, that gives them the money that they get. It ain't the 70 million, it ain't the 55 that I talk about. They get some money, but it's not exactly the same. I don't have that exact amount in front of me right now. But what would happen? So if a school leaves, it would have to pay a gigantic exit fee. We're talking 120 million. I would say dollars. I was about to say euros. To the league, which would also continue to own the TV rights for the school's home games until through the duration of the contract. So you leave. You go join Pac-12 and whatever they have, or something like that, or the Big Ten that's on with the Fox and the NBC and all that stuff deal. They can't use any of your games because you're still in a contract with the other school, but you ain't leaving anyway until the duration.
It's pretty old. Wasn't it like 2020? It was pretty.
It's getting close, but
I thought it was still pretty far out there.
No, that's what I mean. Yeah, I thought okay.
I think it was.
I believe
it's pretty far out. So they're committed. So I feel like the only way for them to get out would be either they're going to fork over the money or the new conference is going to help them buy them.
If it's the SEC and like Clemson,
Right.
you drop 120 mil. Yeah, you can do that.
Which they're
It's also crazy to me thinking like that amount of money to us is like a lot, but then like you look at, I mean, it's a lot of money, but like you look at like European soccer and like clubs spend 120 million for one player. Like they spend that in a year. It's like, yeah, we'll spend that much money. It's ridiculous.
I just don't. I mean, I don't foresee. Granted, I've been wrong before. I don't think anything's really going to come now, especially that they've got this kind of new deal and incentive based program in place. I don't see anybody leaving
the ACC,
right now. Yeah. But if it were to happen, and like, you know, right now Louisville's not in that Magnificent Seven group, you know, I feel like, and we kind of went down this road before when we left the Big 12 or the Big East, where it was basically down to the ACC or the Big 12. Right now, I think the way the Big 12 is going, I think we would easily just move into that. So it's not like we're going to get stuck in Conference USA or the Big East like we were in the past. I think we have a good
Which would you
avenues.
prefer, Big 12 or SEC? If you had the
10.
choice.
You mean Big 10, right?
Well, theoretically, yeah, it should be Big 10 and SEC.
The goal
competing.
should be Big 10 or SEC.
Right, right. No, I understand that. But I'm saying, you're saying the Big 12 makes logical sense for us.
Yeah, especially now that Cincinnati's in there, West Virginia's in there.
Do you want to go to the SEC?
Perfect world, everything just stays where it's at. We stay in the ACC. You know, everybody stays.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
But
long term,
you know,
what do you want? That's what I want.
I don't want to go to the SEC because I'm
saying if you have to leave, where do you want to go?
I'd go to the Big 12. I think you have the best chance of success.
I love the SEC. Like I love the idea of us being a part.
I don't want us to be a Kentucky, Missouri, where
that's exactly
every year where you're
Mark Stoops winning 10 games a year. You shut your mouth.
Okay, Texas and Oklahoma are coming to town soon.
Facts.
Big dog.
But I don't.
Hey, we beat Florida. We got Florida's number.
Yeah, bad Florida.
Killing Florida.
Bad,
I don't care. Florida.
Gotta enjoy it.
Yeah. Florida.
That you lost to Vandy.
I'll be honest. I heard,
But you still beat Florida.
Beat Florida. All right. In the swamp.
I listened to you. I'm sorry. The answer is never Big 12 over the SEC.
No.
It's never. And because like your choice has to be Big 10 or the SEC. Louisville will never be in the Big 10 because the academics ain't gonna make it.
No.
And then the SEC is the way to go. I understand you don't want to be a
Where do we
doormat.
have our degrees?
Huh? What? Oh, where do we
All
get our
4 of
degrees?
us.
Oh well, you know. Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, yeah. Well,
So you'd rather go to the SEC win maybe 7 games a year and be happy about it, whereas you go to the Big 12 and look at like a TCU this year, ran the table and had a chance. Like, yes, they got dog stomped in the championship game, but you have a chance in the Big 12 to compete every year and go to a higher bowl game or a playoff game.
I think if I'm Louisville, the way I look at it, if I'm looking at a different Louisville that has strong leadership when it comes to athletics and they actually give a damn about
Tell us
it,
how you really feel.
I'll do it. But if you actually had the Tom Jurich, who Tom Jurich
gone. Let it
he's
go.
gone.
He's
gone. And he should.
He shouldn't be gone. But
I held the door open for Tom Juris once. He said,
you did.
"Thank
You said thank you for all you've done, sir. You said that.
He said,
is that like
Tommy Turtleneck.
Is that
He
like
did.
the Denny Crumb story from last year?
No, that
listen,
actually
I was
legitimately
there. I
happened.
can corroborate that story. It actually did happen. It did get cut. Yeah. I'm sorry. Those stories aren't.
But
I don't watch our podcast. I have no idea.
So from a UK fan's perspective, it's hard for me to relate because we're the SEC. And it's
Right.
like,
It means more.
You're never
it
going
means
anywhere.
more. We're doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never have to worry about this conversation.
Yeah.
My thinking is like the reason I would never want to go to the Big 12 now is the branding aspect of it. Because all of the teams that are moving in there, BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, you think of, yes, they have good football
like the American
teams,
Conference.
but they are like kind of the second tier. They're like the little like sparky underdogs that, yeah, they play good football, but no one's tuning in for Cincy, UCF. No one's tuning in for like BYU. Like you want to see the Texas, the Oklahomas. If you want to play big dog football, you go to the SEC or the Big 10. Yes, like don't get me wrong. You do.
Well, not
That's
even.
my thought.
But not even just that. if you're Louisville, and yes, maybe you go in there. Okay, say you're Louisville right now. Say you give it a few years until they start looking at conference realignment again. I don't know if Kentucky still has enough power where they could just be like, no, we don't. Louisville will block them like they tried to, like they would do before. I don't know if that's, but if all things are equal and Louisville has an opportunity to go in, if you have Jeff Brom and if he actually succeeds and does well, and it's in a respectable place again, that you're talking about kind of similar to the way you talked about it when you have Charlie Strong or Bobby Petrino the first go around, kind of anything like that. It's a long shot. You're kind of hoping for a lot, but if they are getting to a place like that with Jeff Brom, I think Jeff
They get
Brom
so hot, they just can't resist how hot they are.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, that's not what I'm saying though. I'm not even saying about
My wife, Donna.
that might be an opportunity where the SEC may consider because it's a respectable football program at that point. But not even about that. The point is, I'm saying that is if you go to the SEC, then you have the SEC money to back it up, and you do it with the NIL, and it's an entire different ball game than joining the SEC when Louisville would have joined like back when they joined the ACC, because the money, the NIL didn't exist. You just go in and you try to make do with what you have. Now you go in, get SEC money, get Big Ten money, whatever it is, and go spend it on some good players and good facilities, better facilities, even than what you have right now. Calipari's still crying about his facilities right now. Mitch Barnhart doesn't care, but he's still crying about it.
So you want us to beat Missouri?
No, I think Louisville can be better. I think Louisville can do better if they actually if they put their money where it deserves to be and where it should be. I think Louisville football. I'm not saying they're going to go to the playoff or like win the playoff or anything like that. I'm saying I think they can be a very good football team.
South Carolina.
I don't think South Carolina's a very good football school.
They've had years when the old ball coach was there, when Spurrier was there. But I mean, if I was U of L, and again, I don't know anything about the academic piece of this, but if I was U of L, I would want Big Ten. Because you've heard UK fans talk SEC. You've made fun of that. So I would think you'd want to rival that and be on the Big Ten side.
I already acknowledged when I went down to Florida and going on that trip, and like just every time I'm down there now, I just kind of fall in love with it. Fall in love with it. Yeah, exactly.
I just feel like U of L is not that school.
I don't want to go back to Piscataway. You're not sending me back to Piscataway again.
UK feels like that Southern hospitality.
UK doesn't. No, it doesn't.
It does.
UK feels like that.
At least they pretend to be.
They're fake. Yeah.
If you go to UK's campus,
they never actually were.
They do try to have that. Like,
they want it.
They do try to have that like old money, good old boy. Reputation.
They do.
Where U of L tries to be like this, like, we're the city. We're coming at you, bitch. We're coming for you.
Get shot.
Yeah, so I feel like you all would be a better, like, oh, shit. Cut that. Rivalry. But I feel like for the rivalry, you should go to a different conference. I do. But let me ask this as far as the future goes. Do we see this as a two conference thing where it's like American League, National League, or not really?
I just don't think it can work. I mean, maybe it can. If you pour enough money into it, anything can work.
Do you say, but it can't work geographically, or
it's
why?
just like, I mean, what is college sports at that point? At that point, just make it a semi-pro thing, which it is. It is to a point. But what I
mean, got UCLA and USC in the Big Ten.
The Big Ten has to go to Los Angeles now. I mean,
so at some point,
who's in the far like Rutgers? At some point, their women's volleyball team is going to have to fly to Los Angeles to play a volleyball game.
What's the end game? What's the end game in numbers? So eventually, like for the conference, do they put a cap ever? Like, it's going to be 50? It could be like 40 teams in a conference, or 30-30 or something.
I mean, I feel like it could be, like I said, National League. American League, it's two, and then at that point, what do you even?
At that point,
well, sure.
We'll get in one of them. Then, yeah.
And at that point, what do you even do with the NCAA?
Well, I think it's a joke, anyways. I mean, get rid of it. I'm okay with that.
It is, but I think at some point you need some kind of regulation still, though.
I'll take care. I'll run everything. Just put it on.
Do we need to go back over your coaching record again?
Hey.
Okay, but I guess here's what I want to ask: as regardless of logistics and how that works, how do you feel as a fan, regardless of, because like me, one thing I love having the variety of games to watch. So like, you're telling me football season starts, basketball season starts, I can sit back and watch these games. If this happens, this shrinks the number of games I get to watch down to just these whatever with the 50 teams, so 25 games a week that I get to watch, and the other games they don't matter. I'm not going to watch. Yeah, there's a lot of games I don't watch already.
You don't watch Tuesday Night Maxon?
No, but I mean there could be times where if I had nothing else to do that I would turn on and watch it. You know, I don't mean like that. I mean like a lower conference. Like I mean when I say lower conference, like Pac-12 after dark. There's no reason to watch Pac-12 after dark at that point,
unless you gamble like
Oregon.
Ashton and I. And when we're like it's 1 o'clock, we got $10 on the line, and we're just living in.
Come on, Utah.
Let's go.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. I think, honestly, I don't know if I feel like the best thing for now is to try to keep it some way, not where it is, but I don't know. To me, I would rather see that, and then I'd rather see the playoff be bigger and then come in and have, not crazy big, but.
I'm glad you brought that up because that's my biggest. That's my biggest issue with this realignment is I love that each conference has its own culture, its own style. Like when you turn on the Big 12, you were seeing spread offense, no defense. You're seeing a 55-52 game. You're just seeing points. You bet the over. You sit back and just watch points. When you turn on
Big Ten's got fullbacks and tight ends.
You turn on Big Ten, you're going to see run the ball, punt the ball. You're going to see run the ball, 3-yard out, punt the ball. You're going to see maybe a fumble, and you're going to get that 10-3 win. And it's the best hungover game of all time because you sit on the couch and you don't miss anything.
The SEC is the only one that's changed their culture a little bit.
The SEC is the best of both worlds where we just beat everyone's brakes off.
It used to just be murder ball. It used to just be 6-3, 12-7 or whatever game, and that's like what you
do what you have to do to win. SEC is perfect, and then you've got that's what I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna miss the culture of each conference. And then the when you would have the bowl games, the thing about the bowl games that was awesome is you'd say, oh, how does this Big Ten team match up with this Big 12 team's offense?
Scott Satterfield Air Force. Let's go, baby.
So that's what I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss this conference like culture, which now I think that's going to go away. And another thing I think I'm going to miss from a fan's perspective, it's going to be hard to cultivate rivalries. Like the whole reason I hate U of L, even when you all were good in 2013, you all had a very likable team. Russ Smith, Peyton Siva, all of your guys seemed great.
Shane Behan.
Regardless,
Kevin Ware.
I would watch the team. I'm like, man, they're pretty good. They're fun. And then I would walk down the street and see a U of L fan, and they'd be like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "Oh, I hate U of L." It was being around the other fans, but now you're not going to see a lot of USC.
Just won a championship too.
You're not going to see a lot of USC fans walking down Columbus. No. So you're not going to be able to cultivate these rivalries when the fans are so far apart. Yeah. So that's I think what's going to be the biggest bummer for me.
The USC and UCLA thing. I think that threw a wrench in everything because
it showed that geographically it doesn't matter.
It makes no sense. It's a complete, everything is a money grab, but that's all that was, and it kills the Pac. And in the next couple of years, we'll more than likely see Oregon follow. Washington will probably also follow. So the Big Ten's about to have 25 teams in it, and then which in turn the SEC is going to add a couple. They're probably going to add Clemson and Florida State. The Big 12 is dying. They're trying to add people as much as they can. The ACC's trying to not die.
So what's the point? I mean, we're all monopolizing. It doesn't make sense.
It's all the money, and it's just a big smorgasbord of whatever happens.
I'm just going to throw a word in there one time a week and just see if Ashton will start using it through the entire time.
Which smorgasbord?
I said smorgasbord earlier. Really? Yeah.
Ashton was like, I'm plugging it in my brain.
That's my vocab word. That's all looking it up over here.
No, that's in my lexicon.
No, there you go. Okay.
I'm a walking thesaurus over here.
Yes.
I looked it up on BMO.
I can't wait to see people from I don't know. Syracuse, it's not Syracuse isn't going to join. Syracuse and the SEC, try to do the SEC, try to.
But see, I do, and that's another point. That's another point is I think you lose conference pride too. Yeah. At that point, you can't brag about you can't brag about SEC when you're literally competing against one other conference. Right. So I think you lose that too. I mean, I'm going to watch every game. We can't pretend like we're not going to watch the games. Yeah. At the end of the day, you will watch the games.
I will still be watching Toledo versus Kent State on Tuesday night when Maxon happens.
Well,
Your all's favorite part, and it was a big hit last. It got contentious. I think it's going to get contentious again.
I think we're all
gonna
about to be really happy.
We're going to take turns picking the category. This week is Ashton, so we'll turn over to him, let him describe what he came up with, and then we will have a new order.
So last week we did best looking female
Cartoons we want to.
female cartoon characters that got it going for us back
When
in
we
the
were
day.
kids.
When we were kids.
It got us going.
Now, not so much, maybe. Lola Bunny still?
Still.
Okay.
Still.
To this day.
Not ashamed.
Yeah. So
Not ashamed.
I decided that our childhood, we were all born, you all were born in 89.
90.
90.
We're all 90.
90.
Okay.
So we picked no 89 movie.
So no 89 movies. But I assume our childhood ended when we became teenagers. So around 2002-ish. But our childhood was, a lot of it was built on good movies and TV.
Quality entertainment that our parents put us in front of
Yes.
to not have to deal with us.
You all were talking about kids. Our moms and dads said, hey, watch this.
Here's this
Go away.
TV. Leave me
Oh,
alone.
we still do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Right.
So
Here's your phone. Watch YouTube for 24 hours. Thank you.
I still do it. Yep. But to clarify, this is not necessarily the best movies that you loved as a kid,
No.
but the best movies from that time.
because I would argue that
What Dwight just said is the opposite of what I just did.
Well,
I picked the best
I could not have been, we
movies.
could not have been more clear.
I was very explicit that I didn't give a shit.
It was very confusing because I was like, is it my favorite movie?
It is.
Is it my,
It is
my,
your favorite
my childhood?
movie.
Or
It is
is
your
it
favorite-
or is it,
favorite movies.
or is it like these are critically acclaimed movies that I didn't give a damn about?
So we're gonna do
No.
your favorite movies
Your
from
favorite
our
movies.
childhood
Time period.
Right. So 1990 through about 2002.
And clarification, it has to be a specific movie. You can't do a series.
Correct.
Which I just feel, okay, that's fine.
Not doing,
but-
so if you pick, for example, if you were to pick
Star Wars.
Star Wars, you're not getting the whole Star Wars series. You got to say Star Wars Episode 5 because Jar Jar Binks was the best character.
Okay, Jar Jar Binks was not alive. in episode
I
five.
know.
Actually, he may be because he could have been a Sith Lord secretly. We don't know.
Into the draft.
Yes.
Who's got the first overall pick?
All right, Justin, give us the order. And this is snake draft.
Okay.
Snake draft.
Yeah, it is once again a snake draft order. So as long as you guys are in agreement with this, I think the fairest way to do it is just do a shifting every single time. So Dwight went first. He will go last this time. I went second, so I will be going first. And then from there, Ashton, Brian, Dwight. And then Dwight will pick again, and so on and so on. All right. So we're going to open this up. This throws a wrench in my
Please
plans a little
vote.
bit.
We need more votes. Please vote on who won the draft.
And you guys are allowed to veto this because I'm not sure if this counts exactly with my pick. The way I'm going to have to pick this, otherwise I will have to adjust it. But I was going to go with, okay, so are we just going into it now?
With the number one pick,
Okay.
Justin selects.
With the number one pick overall of the draft, and I need clarification, just to be sure, it's going to be, they re-released it, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. And I understand it originally released in 1980, but it re-released the new version. And this was these movies were formative to my childhood. I will
Guys,
say that.
I will.
Justin and I are twins. He stole my.
I will allow it. I will allow it.
Okay.
You're already
It was
breaking rules.
re-released in 1997 in February. They released Star Wars: A New Hope in January, and they had Return of the Jedi.
And we saw them in theaters each time when they released it.
I would like to also speak to this greatness of this movie. Go ahead.
It's the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. From all the different things that they did when there, George Lucas, obviously, the creation of the story. It to me, it's also like I know Dwight didn't care about Star Wars. That's
I
fine.
watched the originals. I watched the first three. I've watched the originals.
I love these movies, and I also love the prequels.
But remind me which one that one.
Episode 5
what happened?
is the second one. Okay, and this one is
Frozen Planet.
Luke
Yoda.
Yeah, the Hoth. They go to Hoth. AT-ATs. Luke goes to Dagobah, meets Yoda, trains a little bit, faces Darth Vader in the end.
I
Darth Vader
am
cuts
your
his arm off.
father.
I am your father. And Han Solo gets frozen in
Boba
carbonite. Leia says, I love you. He says, I know, like a
Try
badass.
Do
Yeah.
you must?
Yeah.
Do or do not.
There- to me,
There is no
try.
try.
There you
I
go.
will
See,
allow
I
it because
watched
that's nowhere near my list.
I will allow it.
Really?
It was
See,
number
to
3.
me-
I was going in chronological.
To me, like I think there's no more influential franchise in the history of movies than Star Wars. I
I would
honestly
disagree.
think
In
that-
filmmaking.
But like
yes.
in filmmaking, no, I'm being honest because like in filmmaking, what he did, what George Lucas did, was so different. So like every single movie, he created some new way of filming, of the CGI.
They
and different stuff like
literally
that.
blew up the Death Star twice. They did
Well,
the
so
same thing
basically,
twice.
like
This episode five.
what Trump was to racists is what George Lucas was to nerds. Like he gave them a voice.
What?
And I'll stand by that. That's what I think. I think he gave nerds a voice. He gave them a platform. So now, whenever I'm on like a
That's in
Zoom
the
call,
short.
whenever I'm on a Zoom call with IT, I know that they're. It's like, oh, happy May the 4th. It's Star Wars Day.
I don't do that stuff. I don't like celebrate Star Wars
I
Day. and
love
that stuff.
movies.
Actually, most of what I do
I'm
now
not.
is just shit on how bad
Right.
Disney has ruined it. And it's
kinda like you, Val.
Like we could have talked. Yeah, it's actually what I am just a very bitter person, and I just kind of shit on everything. So that's my pick. I was going to go with the Star Wars series because I had to. I would have gone with the prequels, though my options are 1 and 2 because the actual good one, episode 3, didn't come out till 2005. But they were still monumental, and I think in our childhood. And
Because I don't get to speak to it, I want to specifically identify that my memories and my love of Empire Strikes Back is not just the movie. It was going to Taco Bell and getting those toys. And Yoda, because I don't know why. I don't remember even watching the movie in 1997, but I remember Yoda being something that I gravitated towards, that I identified with, and I wanted to.
you identified as Yoda?
No, I don't identify as Yoda. I'm saying legitimately.
Identify you do.
But real talk, Han Solo is badass, and
Touch you in your sleep.
I think
I
I
will.
tried to pull my first girlfriend by saying,
Sexually assault
I
your
know.
sister later. That's clear.
No, it was a good pick. I mean, even for a non-Star Wars person, it's a solid pick. So
And lightsabers. I mean, you have a lightsaber.
I mean,
Who doesn't
the amount
want a
of
lightsaber?
money those films have made,
Right.
or merchandising, really.
And like I said, they have created a cult. They have created
yeah.
a nerd cult. You
No.
have to admit that it has.
There are
There's
people on
nothing-
YouTube making millions
Yeah,
and millions
lots
of
of money.
dollars off of a franchise that
Why
they
are we
just
doing
watch
this
as kids. Right, I agree. We should change.
Yeah.
But Dwight won't let
guys,
us.
bye.
So,
Right.
right.
Why won't let us do
See
nerd
ya.
stuff?
All right,
Yeah.
who's next?
Who's up next?
That would be Ashton with the second overall pick in the movie draft.
So for my first pick, I'm going to go with, it is my all-time favorite movie of all time. And it was from 1994, which 94 had a lot of good
Had
movies.
so many good movies.
So many good movies.
The goat of years.
Mortal Kombat!
The new one was good.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I never read the book, but
Yeah, you haven't read a book.
Where the red
I don't think-
fern grows.
We know you haven't read a book.
Thank goodness.
Shawshank,
Oh, such a
Shawshank
good movie.
Redemption.
So
Best
good.
movie of all time. Andy Dufresne.
Such
He
a good
didn't
movie.
kill her.
Such a
He
good movie.
crawled through the pipe of shit
Yeah.
You did.
out to freedom.
That is my second.
Have you
favorite
made it to
movie of all
freedom
time.
yet, Ashton? Have you
I'm a
crawled
single.
out?
I'm a single male. I have freedom all the time.
That movie is what made everyone realize that Morgan Freeman should narrate
Yes.
our
Yeah.
lives.
Yes, agreed.
That is the movie where everyone was like,
Either-
who's this man that speaks so...
You either get busy
So well.
living or
Right.
get busy dying.
See, it's a very good movie. It just kind of falls under one of those movies that, like, I was kind of like, feel like I.
So that's where I was going to go. Is
know?
Ashton, did you watch this as a
Yes.
child?
Yes.
So-
Granted, my dad is older, so I watched a lot of older stuff growing up.
I think he's
Granted,
90
that
now.
was very nice of you to say older, right?
83.
Yeah.
Is he really 83?
He's in his 80s. Yeah.
Good for him.
For him.
And he's got a high school freshman. So,
Yeah.
adopted. But it's fine.
Oh, I thought you meant dating.
Me too. I was like, oh, Norma.
My mother alone.
Still pulling those high school chicks? Never lost
He was a
step.
senior citizen when she was a
I
freshman.
grew up watching, like, one of my favorite TV shows is MASH. We're getting off subject here, but it's because my dad is older, so I watch a lot of older stuff. So I grew up watching.
I never
stuff
put those
like
things in perspective. Yeah. that makes sense.
Shawshank Redemption is my favorite movie of all time.
It's my second favorite, and I'm very sad that got taken, but I knew it would. The Sisters. Can we talk about the Sisters?
He could put up a good fight.
That was that was one of the most like graphic rape scenes, like prison rape scenes of all
When
time.
you're young, you don't really comprehend what's going on. Then you're older, you're like, oh God.
You're like, oh, he's getting pounded in prison.
I don't know that
Bad.
I know what that is. I don't remember
He gets
that
raped
part.
by some gentleman in jail.
In jail.
Are we allowed to say rape on YouTube?
Yeah, you can say rape. Yeah, I said
I thought
abortion.
you were supposed to say like
No, I said abortion last time. I said some other things.
like
Rape.
suicide is like unalived in themselves.
I think that's like
What's the old guy's name? He does hang himself in it.
yeah.
There's a lot of emotions in there.
There's
Yeah.
the highs
But
and
it's
lows.
so good.
That's
such
the
a
movie
good
where he becomes like the librarian or something.
because
right?
he's
It's a
like
library.
he's like a
He's a accountant.
he's like an accountant and
Yeah.
he's a like numbers genius. That's what got him in the.
He gets pinned for his wife's and her lover's murder. Turns out, spoiler alert, he didn't do it, but he escapes jail. And if you haven't watched it, where have you been?
Where have you
Go
been?
watch it.
It's the best. It's not the best. It's the second
it's not
best,
better
in my
than
opinion.
Star Wars. I'm sorry.
For,
It's not
as
better
far
than
as
Star
movie
Wars.
to movie,
I would say if I took a poll of every human being in the world, the two movies, Star Wars just rapes
Well, yeah,
that,
'cause
like
you
that
gotta
guy
watch
did.
Nerds.
No, but it just no, like Star Wars though is also one of those
Too many
movies that
nerds.
like people that aren't nerds love.
You all do understand that nerds are ruling the world, right?
Yeah,
We're
you do.
doing this right
But I
now.
understand. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, we wouldn't be having a podcast on YouTube if it weren't for nerds.
This is a dude podcast. This is
Anyway.
now we can talk like men, not talk like nerds.
My vote or my
That's a good pick. It's a great
Shawshank
pick.
Redemption.
Well,
Great
mark
movie.
that off my list.
On to our third pick, Brian.
all right, this was easy for me.
I know what this is.
Do you? Do
Are you
you?
cleaning right now?
Am I cleaning? I don't know what that means.
No.
First
Oh, no,
if this
that's-
is anything
that
like
might be
last
on the
week,
list.
we're not going to know what he's talking about. We're going to Google it.
So I'm going to let you guys know right now. I'm going in chronological order. So the years that it came out, and
What if
I didn't mean to do that. It just that's the way that the list is. When I was a child, there was no more profound movie that made an impact upon me and the importance of owning a dog and the relationship between a boy and his
Yeller.
dog.
Oh.
It's not Old Yeller, Dwight.
I can't wait to
God.
shoot my dog in the face.
60, like what year was that made? 67? Like,
Beethoven?
and like, thank God this movie did not have that ending.
Sassy?
It's yes, it is
Sassy?
clearly Homeward Bound. Shadow
I had that one
is
on mine.
everybody's
Peter.
Yeah.
Peter.
Chance with Michael J. Fox and Sally with Sally Field.
That fucking porcupine.
Yeah,
Right,
dude.
his ass right in the face.
1993 is when that came out.
I knew that actually.
I had that on my list.
That was like the first time I think I was ever sad in a movie. Like when I thought that Shadow died.
That's
It's
where
the
I was
moment
going. I
where-
wish that I would be allowed to speak to it, but that's fine. It's fine.
Go for it. Tell us about it.
Tell us about
Let's let you have this pick. It's fine. You're just gonna get the next pick and the next pick after that. But yeah, no big deal.
Tell us about Shadow, Brian.
So real talk, a bond between a boy and his dog. I didn't have that when I watched this movie, and then I ended up getting a dog later, and that's one of the reasons why I was like, I understand this now. I wasn't allowed to have a dog. I'm allergic. I have allergies, but who cares? Because the relationship between a boy and his dog is more important than allergies. I thought Shadow died. Like I was so scared that sweet old golden retriever was dead in a ditch somewhere, and Chance was all that fucking kid was gonna have. Because Michael J. Fox, no offense, is not the same thing as Shadow. Shadow,
It was a shaky performance by Michael J. Fox.
God.
Oh no.
and nobody likes cats. You know, everybody knows that cat ran away.
Yes, you never reflect what Justin just
Canceled.
said.
But
See ya.
no, I was so scared, and to this day, if I watch that scene, I'm still not sure if Shadow's gonna come over that hillside. And
Muddy.
Peter. Go ahead, J-Balls.
I will say having a golden retriever nowadays, I kind of
Not the
wish.
same thing.
I kind of wish that he would
Get old and be Shadow.
disappear.
Yeah.
Just like oh no, he didn't make it back. Oh, when I go to the backyard to let him in, when I know he's gonna run all over the place and get mud all over the
Your
thing.
dog is a little bit
Maybe.
of a. He's your
Dude,
dog's nuts.
he's in puppy mode. He never's growing out of it.
Yeah.
It's just he's so much energy, so much whatever. It's the opposite of me.
So
I yell and scream on this all the time.
right. So clearly that movie is my number one pick as a childhood movie. It taught me a lot of lessons.
All right,
Yeah.
All right.
So
I'm
take back-to-back picks here.
I have back-to-back picks.
With the number 4 overall
Number
pick.
4 overall pick, but number 1 for myself. I am glad that only one of my top 4 was taken. Shawshank Redemption was all time. And like shout out to this time period. 3 of my top 4 movies of all time are from this time period. So the number 1 pick for me, this is my all time favorite movie.
Sandlot.
From 2000.
Oh.
The Gladiator.
Oh, that was on my list.
Are you not entertained?
Yep.
Are you not entertained?
That was not on my list.
That was on my list.
Is this not why you're here?
Yes.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, husband to a murdered daughter.
Honestly, I think I've seen that movie one time and I don't remember any of it.
It's a good movie.
Other than what you just said.
That movie changed my life. There were so
If you
many
saw Thor: Love and Thunder,
there were
Russell
so
Crowe's
many-
character is pretty much the same.
so many
Dainty and,
quotes.
like-
Just the triumph of being on
was a
top
skirt.
of the world, to being in the dirt, a slave, to killing Caesar,
How
to
old were you when
freeing
you
the
watched this movie?
slaves
Yeah.
when it came out. So 10. So it came out in 2000.
So your parents
And
didn't
I've watched
care
it-
about the blood and
I've
guts
watched
when
it,
your
like-
mom is as religious as she
Yeah, but my
is.
mom was also very naive. No offense,
Well,
Robin.
this looks like a nice movie.
So she was like, "Oh, Gladiator, cool." But anyways,
Gladiator. What do
I mean,
gladiators do?
That was
This
one
is
of
very
those-
educational for Dwight. He needs to see
Historical.
this.
It's historical. It's based on a true story. But it was magnificent. So many great quotes.
That's a great movie.
Russell Crowe, all time acting. I mean, again, I know we're not just doing critically acclaimed, but it won 5 Academy Awards, Best Picture, all time movie.
That's one of the movies though that I feel like works when you say that. It's not just it's not one of those that I thought you were gonna pick something that I'd be like, that's nerdy and boring. Like,
Yeah.
you know
So
what I mean?
nowadays, critically acclaimed films, I'm just like, oh, because they didn't speak the whole movie. It's a silent film, so it has to win. But that movie needed it. So
Killing, you got everything.
you got it all.
Yeah.
Blood,
You got
guts,
love,
animals, love, sex,
freedom,
Brian
slaves.
Cox.
Anyways, now, all right, next pick. And this is my 3rd favorite movie of all time. 2nd favorite movie of all time, Shawshank.
Second round, 5th
But
overall pick.
I am so glad that this was left because this was a cultural phenomenon. It was, and it was also a Best Picture. It was a cult. I've never seen a movie like this happen since
Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Forrest Gump.
Oh, dude. Oh, my
Forrest
gosh.
Gump.
I'm so upset that it's not on my list.
Mom always said, "Box is like a life for box of chocolates."
God, life is like a box of chocolates.
Stupid is as stupid does.
Dwight is as stupid as
Stupid is,
does,
stupid
or he's
did, right
hammered.
there.
I'm not a smart man, but I know what love is.
That might
I
be the
love
most
you, Jenny.
quotable movie.
Most quotable movie even today.
Can't sit here.
Can't sit here. What are you, stupid or something? I could quote that movie.
I must have drank me 15 Dr. Peppers.
Another.
Now, here's the question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it irresponsible of Jenny to know that she's basically given 4 states?
No,
She's the
'cause
worst. Jenny is the worst.
Yeah, that's a crime.
The worst.
Yes.
She literally waited until she was dying of AIDS to be like, well, someone's got to raise this
He's got
kid.
money.
Someone's got to raise this kid. Let me go find that shrimp guy that made all that money.
Just tied up. Just tied up.
And, yeah, that gosh, Jenny's the worst.
Your
But
mom
you know what's
really
funny?
loves you.
Funny thing about Jenny, she played Robin Wainwright played Claire on House of Cards,
Yeah.
which was mind blowing.
You were in love with her.
No, but she had style though.
I thought you were like
she had style.
a very classy lady.
I mean, she's old, but she's got style. But I mean, that blew my mind when I realized that.
Lieutenant Dan, you ain't
She's
got
in
no
the
man.
Wonder Woman movies now, and she still carries it there.
Yeah.
Like, bravo to her.
So I mean, cultural. I mean,
That's
honestly, if an alien came to Earth in like the early 90s,
I need to understand what this culture's
and,
like.
yes, and the alien said, explain America to me.
Yes.
I would show that alien the movie.
That makes sense.
You will learn
Yep.
more in this 2 hours of watching this movie than I could do explaining.
How do you feel?
It's just the best.
How do you feel?
Good
I
pick.
gotta pay.
I got to pay.
I must have drank me like 15
Dr. Peppers.
I just felt like running.
Yeah, that's
All right.
And running.
So anyway, so those are my two. I'm glad only Shawshank got less out.
I'm honestly surprised you picked that one behind Gladiator, but
Well, Gladiator is my personal favorite because I am a warrior, as you can see, and I just have that. I have that dog in me.
So, like, I'm a little upset because I'm next, right? Or is it Josh? Oh, Josh.
No, it's
We're twins. It's me.
It goes back the other way.
Yeah,
Dwight,
okay,
then
you're
me,
different.
then.
we got lost in the
wasn't
snake. I'm sorry for the viewers. We got lost in
I
the
wasn't
snake.
paying attention.
I got lost in the way.
I got lost in the snake because it's a snake draft. I got lost in the snake.
So, Brian,
So I'm a little bit upset now that I'm realizing that you guys have picked like quality movies that adults can like. But I was thinking in reference to my childhood and enjoying them.
Even though I told you not to, but okay.
Well, that's not what. But like, I agree. I love your picks, and I really like mine too. And this one makes me sad to admit, but I can sing every song from this movie. Like, I know the words to this day. And that's because it is one of the best movies in the entire world, Lion King.
Great pick.
And I didn't realize the like juxtaposition of it to Hamlet until I was singing junior year English class, reading Hamlet and saying they ripped off of Lion King. Like, who is this guy?
Shakespeare motherfucker. I don't know what he
balls
did.
did this guy have to rip off this movie?
I love that Lion King also is like a ripoff of a Japanese movie that did it, and then that Japanese movie is a ripoff. It's like called Kimba or something like that.
I forgot about that.
And it's a ripoff of that.
you say
And that Japanese movie ripped off Hamlet, so it's a double ripoff.
Right.
To get to Disney.
I mean, is there anything sadder though than
nothing.
Mufasa doesn't get up?
So that was my point. With the first pick that I had, Shadow doesn't die. This is where I realized, oh shit, people do die.
Yeah.
Lions
I
do
remember
die.
vividly being a 5 or 6 year old. And I was at like a sleepover, and I walked by a TV screen. They were showing The Lion King, and it was that scene. I immediately turned around. I was like, I'm not about to cry at this sleepover because I will cry if I watch this. I mean, that was traumatizing.
It transcends cultures. If you say Hakuna Matata, I guarantee
means no
people will
words.
know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah,
But I also hate the idea of Hakuna Matata.
Here's the question.
Because you understand, Hakuna Matata is the crutch that Simba uses to say, fuck it.
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Here's the question.
My dad's dead. Who cares?
Best character in that movie. Who is it?
Ooh.
I'm going Pumbaa.
I knew you were going to go Pumbaa. And again, I can sing all of his parts to all of his songs. I like Scar. I like Jeremy Irons. I don't like what he does, but obviously, like, he is the catalyst to everything. He is the reason that
Honestly, like, my son loves the.
Oh yeah,
we will literally play in the backyard, and he will be on the slide, and he'll be like climbing up, and he'll go, "Brother, save me!" And he wants me to go like, "Long live the king," and just let him go. He thinks it's hilarious.
that's amazing and awful all at the same time.
So you're Scar. I'm Pumbaa. Who you going with?
My personal, I was leaning towards Scar. I'm gonna go with Shotzi. Just because Shotzi. I think Shotzi's the one.
The one line where she's
Shotzi's one of the hyenas. Wait, Shotzi.
Oh, you're right.
Is
Whoopi
Shotzi
Goldberg?
is that what it is? Oh no, I'm thinking like the mentally handicapped one. You know what I'm talking about?
Ed.
The last-
Ed's mine. Yeah, Ed. It's gonna be Ed. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even remember.
Shotzi's just a great name. Though.
What's his, oh my gosh, the Mexican guy.
Whoa.
That's an
Carlos
actual
Mencia?
country. No, not Carlos Mencia. Cheech and Chong.
Born in East LA.
Cheech. Huh?
Never mind.
Yes, but yes,
Yeah.
Cheech is the voice of one of the hyenas.
You know, I've still never seen Born in East LA.
I have.
Remember, is it good?
I watched it as a little kid. No,
Who's your
Okay.
favorite?
but I only watched it as a little kid, so I have no idea.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Nala. She almost made my list at the last draft.
Pingy again.
Pingy again.
Those eyes.
Anthropomorphized
Pingy
people,
again.
man. Dwight's all about
I love
that.
those animals.
All the
They're
animals.
so hot.
Is that why you had to get rid of Hank?
He was pretty handsome. Handsome Hank.
He wasn't the aggressive one. It was Dwight.
Handsome Hank.
All right, let's go. Moving on.
Good pick.
Who's
Good
next?
pick.
Yeah.
Lion King was a classic.
Next up would be Ashton again.
So,
7th overall pick, second round.
great pick so far. So, Brian, going off of your pick, so my favorite actor of all time is Tom Hanks.
I can understand.
Like,
I get that.
puts
I
out.
already took his best movie. Sorry.
You did.
You're a toy.
You did. Oh.
Not that one. Not that one. But Houston, we have a problem. Apollo
Armageddon.
13. Phenomenal movie. It's, obviously, I would assume pretty historically accurate. But
Because I don't know.
They made a movie of it. I believe it.
This is my belief in history. Is this movie?
well, I think it's one of the best movies ever made. It was made in 1995, but it is my
So was Lion King.
second favorite movie of all time.
It's been so long since that movie came out that I can't remember the difference between that and Armageddon.
World does end. World doesn't end.
Is that the difference?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which one is Liv Tyler in?
Armageddon, right?
Armageddon.
Yeah, Armageddon.
Okay,
I remember. Yeah, because Steven Tyler plays whatever. He's just,
Completely off topic, but I love the Ben Affleck asked the question: why is it easier to train drillers to go to the moon than it is for astronauts to learn how to drill?
right.
Anyway,
That's so good.
no, but Apollo 13, it's got some action, it's got suspense, and Tom Hanks, he doesn't miss, in my opinion.
He doesn't miss.
He does not miss.
You know who the greatest voice actor for Tom Hanks is? Like who does his like characters and stuff and everything?
His son.
It's his brother. His brother has made an entire career of imitating him.
Have you seen anything with his son?
His son
is creepy.
He does have a bit creepy.
He was in
son?
Dexter.
He's
in a lot of
Hanks' son.
things,
Colin,
actually.
I think.
Colin Hanks. I don't. Yeah,
He's
I don't
been
hate him as
in
an
a couple
actor.
things. But yeah, Apollo 13, they go to space.
Space.
Lieutenant Dan doesn't have measles in that one.
Lieutenant Dan, you ain't got no legs. You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
But yeah, that's my pick. So who's next?
J-Balls.
it would be my turn, and I have the double picks in a row. So I'm gonna have the 8th overall pick, second round of this draft. I'm torn between two movies, and I know what you're gonna say. You can go back to back, and I can pick both of them, but I'm not going to. I think I'm gonna stick with one for this genre because there's other genres that I can kind of pick and kind of fit in. I think for the 8th overall pick, they're both so good.
Then pick them both.
The actor, he hit his prime during the 90s. Like he was rolling during this time. And I think with the 8th overall pick in the draft, I'm going to go with Billy Madison.
Ooh, good one.
I think it was between Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison, and they're so close to me. They're neck and neck.
They are.
Except outside of you eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast, and all in the hips and all that kind of. It's so hard for me not to.
Wrong, Bobby.
There's so many good things from both movies, but I think I'm going to go Billy Madison because I think Billy Madison.
So sorry.
It's a Russ.
Stop staring at me, Swan.
Terry Schwann. Yeah. There's so many pieces of that movie where
That's a good one.
I think Billy Madison's the one that I've gone back to and watched more, but I can watch them both anytime. But Billy Madison's the one. I think it was also one of those like go back to school to prove to mom that or is it dad?
I'm no fool.
Dad that I'm not a fool. All that stuff.
I'm no fool.
That Veronica vote.
Okay.
One.
She and I
Got it.
Oh, no, you
No, he
didn't.
didn't. No, he didn't.
Well, I know a guy.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Who'd eat 30-bag lunches?
No, the best part of the entire movie. The principal, the blob. The wrestler.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
that's great.
Glad I called that guy. I know
Mr.
that's-
Insano.
Yes. Yeah.
That was a good one. That was
great.
That was definitely honorable mention on my list. But yeah, I mean, he was killing it.
Yeah.
I mean, and to your point, it would be very hard to pick between Happy Gilmore and
If
Billy
Pete
They're
Madison.
so-
Gilmore is
yeah.
cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Yeah, there's an assortment there that are very, very like
was-
neck and neck in my book.
That was the pre Kevin James in every Adam Sandler movie ever.
Hey, did you see that guy's
Yes.
balls? Yeah, they were weird looking.
And Norm Macdonald, R.I.P. Norm Macdonald.
Oh, yeah.
Love him in that movie. Just
Chris
him,
Farley.
him and and just being passed out by the pool every day, just living his best life.
Just them spraying the kid in the face.
Mister, I don't know you.
I mean, we were off camera. We were literally quoting that movie, just like
Right,
in our
not
regular
even-
discussion,
right.
where you were talking about kids, and you're like, "Stay here where it's safe."
Yeah.
For the love of God.
And I think it's one of those movies too
Never
where I
say
feel
that.
like Billy Madison probably is more quotable than Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
And like they will come up like maybe once a week you might say something, that'll be from that movie.
I never use conditioner without thinking of Billy Madison.
No,
Every time I use conditioner, I'm just like, "No, conditioner is better."
Conditioner is
I
better.
go with the head first. Yeah.
I like that that's your reference point, whereas us three bald guys
we had
don't
no
use
idea
what
conditioner.
we're talking about.
So the only time I do that is when I'm bathing my daughter.
I got you.
And my wife yells at me because I don't use conditioner because it's a waste of time.
So, Justin, that was your second pick. Your
Yes.
third pick, are you going to go with the one you were thinking of? Or
He said,
No, I'm not going to go back to back. I feel like that would be overkill for this draft where you have such limited picks. I mean, maybe one of you all could do it if you really want, but I think
If you
If you want to lose the draft, you can pick.
Yeah, if you want to lose it, I have an assortment of picks. I think I'm going to go with a different genre for this one. And for the third overall pick, this one is one that, like, I feel it's not my favorite of this genre, but it's up there. It's one of the very tops. It just falls in this demographic, and one of the great movies, I think, of history. It also fills the Paisan agenda for me. And I'm going to have to pick Goodfellas. And I think Goodfellas is one of those movies that, every time it comes on, Joe Pesci and, just Ray Liotta, R.I.P. Ray Liotta, another guy who just passed away recently. I think was phenomenal in that movie. And it's one of my favorite, especially if you're going to go mob movies.
If you're going to go Ray Liotta.
But outside of The Godfather.
If you're going to go Ray Liotta, I'd say Cocaine Bear.
I've not seen Cocaine. Have you seen Cocaine Bear?
No, I just know he did it.
You did some awesome stuff. Did you know? Ray Liotta was the voice of Tommy Vercetti and in Grand Theft Auto Vice City.
I did not know that.
He did the entire voice. I think he ended up getting screwed over in the end and got like no residuals, like money afterward kind of thing for all and how successful. Because I didn't think they didn't know how successful that game was going to be.
Right.
But anyway, I always love Ray Liotta and a lot of things he does, but I think Goodfellas is probably one of the better of that.
I've not seen that movie.
You've never seen Goodfellas?
I've
never seen the movie.
That's terrible.
But the pizza is great.
Oh no.
Yeah, I'm slacking on the mob movies because I have not seen that.
Have you seen Goodfellas or The Godfather?
I've not seen The Godfather.
Are you kidding me?
I've never seen The Sopranos.
I haven't even.
Oh yeah, we've had to talk about The Sopranos. Dude, The Sopranos is so good. Like it's one of the best series of all time. The ending, obviously.
The ending is where it just goes black. Right?
Yeah.
See, I feel like so many people have talked about it at this point where I'm just like, I know how it ends.
No, the ending really doesn't matter. Like it's the whole show. Because like the ending, it's an M. Night Shyamalan kind of ending. Like, is he alive? Is he dead? Is whatever happened kind of thing. But that series is so good. And then, dude, The Godfather is probably. I mean, Star Wars, it's between Star Wars and The Godfather for my favorite movies of all time.
What year is that?
70s, 72. But The Godfather, Al Pacino, you've got Marlon Brando.
Those are Italian dudes,
Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro was in the second one. Robert De Niro, Robert Duvall. Why am I blanking on Sonny? James Caan.
Thank you.
Those guys.
Elf was his best movie, but Godfather's a close second.
Elf is fantastic, but yes, I mean his role as Sonny Corleone is one of my favorites.
Back to Goodfellas. Yeah, never seen it.
Pizza is good.
Pizza's great.
Okay, what
after a
movie? I assume
maybe that's something we could do, like a future content. We could have you all watch it and like
live.
We can do watch. Actually, those things hit on YouTube a lot. Like the first time watching
I
whatever.
have seen The Godfather.
You have seen The Godfather?
I watched them back to back to back.
How old were you? Young?
22.
Oh, so you're old. Yeah. So you're old enough where you. No, I mean you're old enough where like you could sit through it and get through it. Because like my wife had ADD. Dude, she like midway through was like zoned out of the movie.
1 and 2 were good. 3 was eh.
3 was bad. 3 was bad. It's okay to say that. Though there's positive things that a lot of people. But if you love the first 2, I mean they're based off the book, the Godfather book. It's all in there. And I've read the book too.
We've covered anything today. If it's a book. No.
I read The Godfather for when we were in high school. I read it for one of those classes, and Mario Puzo, a lot of good books, like The Sicilian. It's all the same.
Books are for nerds.
Ashton?
It's me.
So what is this, 9?
Nah, this is pick 10. Pick 10.
It's my third pick.
Ashton's third pick.
And
so wait. Let's recap. So who all do you have? You have 3 so far.
I have 3.
All right. So what do you got?
Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, the re-release. Because I have to say that again.
Special edition.
Special edition. Thank you. Then I have Billy Madison, and then I've got Goodfellas. That's a solid list.
Strong. All right, and you've got Shawshank.
I've got Shawshank Redemption, Apollo 13, and I'm about to have my third pick, which
do you want to?
Came out in 1999. I'd say it's probably not on anybody else's list. It's a great movie, but it's not, I guess, critically acclaimed by a lot of people. But I would argue it is Willem Dafoe's best acting job.
The Lighthouse?
Boondock Saints.
Oh, bravo.
Phenomenal movie.
When did that come out?
99.
Wow.
I thought it was.
But
I have not seen it.
It's a quality
it
movie.
is so good.
Yeah.
Great for content that you haven't seen it. I have not seen that movie.
I have not seen it.
What's so great about it? What do you love about it?
It's got enough action in it. It's got a little. I like that it kind of goes. It shows you kind of what happened, and then they kind of or you try to figure out what happened, and then they show you what happened, and then they go back to.
So you're working backwards a
little bit. It's kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Willem Dafoe is a detective who is a homosexual in Boston.
You just had to spell that out. It had to be
That's a
told.
short right there.
No,
He's a homosexual.
It's a big part of the movie because they like kind of hit on it. And
Well, Defoe is a homosexual. That's the short. There it
in
is.
the movie, he is a homosexual detective in Boston, which there's a lot of pushback on that, and some stuff comes up. But
But there is.
it is a I think it's his best movie because he
That's saying something because Willem Dafoe has
Phenomenal.
a lot of great
I've
movies.
heard of it, obviously.
the scene where they come out of the ceiling
Yes.
with the silencers and they shoot like 20 guys in the
Yes.
and the pennies on the eyes and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's didn't see it till obviously I was 10 or 11, but pretty gory at times. Got a lot of stuff going on to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, phenomenal.
To clarify, all these movies, we've all seen them when we were kids during this time period.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. I don't want to be
Moondog
like,
Saints 2,
yeah.
awful. But Moondog Saints 1,
Yes.
Is shipping up to Boston in that, or is that The Departed? What am I thinking of?
maybe both.
I was gonna say no.
It's definitely in The Departed.
Definitely Departed.
Because The Departed is very much Boston central.
Right.
Centered.
But it's very, Boondock Saints is Irish Catholic dudes, doing some.
What do you think Bob Huggins would say about them?
Things. Oh my gosh.
Oh, man. Something that would get him in trouble. I'm
gotta-
sure.
he's
Not
gotta-
fired, but a little bit in trouble.
Got to go to class for it.
Got to go to sensitivity training.
All right, I think it's my turn.
Yep, Brian's turn.
Okay.
Justin stole Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, so I've been scrambling to try and figure out what I want to put as my number 3 and keep it chronologically in correct order, like I had. I'm not going to mention my honorable mentions just yet. I'm going to wait. Hold on. All right, so you said Adam Sandler.
And you said Boondock Saints, which reminds me of the category of oh my god, what the hell's the director's name? I can't remember. Richie.
Guy Ritchie.
Guy Ritchie's movies.
The Gentleman is phenomenal.
I'm kind of honestly, that is underappreciated.
Phenomenal.
I agree. I was bored at first. I was like, oh my gosh, let's take that. That's not what we're here to talk about. You're talking about Adam Sandler movies. I don't know. I want to go Snatch because there's so many great people in Snatch, but I think I'm going to Waterboy.
Two very different movies.
completely
Very different.
So
Yeah,
you said
Waterboy.
Billy Madison and Happy Gilmore. Don't get me wrong. I love both. Billy
Like
Madison
Dags?
as like one of the first. Yeah, exactly. One of the first movies that he did. Awesome. Waterboy, I think.
He's not even looking at this.
What?
All right, man.
I mean, did they ever?
I like to see homos naked. I don't know.
Did they ever find that girl that escaped the zoo?
You like that? You see that shit? That's shit.
Y'all remember when Bobby Boucher showed up?
I hate to do this to him, but if there's one thing we know about Brian, he's still like pees himself like when he sleeps sometimes, and it happens when he drinks or something like that. My mom used to do the joke that she was going to do that. Like we had a girlfriend that came over and be like, "You see that sheet? That's his sheet. He's the one. He's pissing. He's the pisser."
What's for dessert?
Squirrel.
Well, Mama don't know will hurt her.
I guess.
Like,
Shows her the
I see a little bit. I see some girls. I see a lot of guys too. Last night I saw my mom and Coach Clyde at the same time.
Three movies I like too.
You're wrong.
Oh, that's a great movie.
Colonel Sanders.
Yes. Yeah.
I remember watching that. I remember watching that with my dad, and my dad was like a no nonsense guy, and he was like, "This is so stupid." And then he saw, for whatever reason, he saw the scene where the kicker is about to kick, and he sees the Ku Klux Klan on the football, and my dad just lost it for some reason. He thought that was so funny. Yeah.
You can't hold anything back.
They got all the They got all the teeth and no tooth.
No toothbrush. That's a great pick.
That's a great movie.
I don't know how that slipped my head because definitely Happy Gilmore and Billy Madison was a thought, but I didn't even think about that.
Adam Sandler put out some bangers.
Oh yeah, he put out some great ones.
Still is on Netflix.
I mean,
I like the Jennifer Aniston movies.
Murder Mystery. Those are good.
They're all right.
Finished the second one. We started.
I did watch his Hustle. It's just okay.
Uncut Gems
is the most stressful.
Oh my
It's just, that's all it was stress. It was just the movie was just, can this man ruin his life anymore? That was all the movie was. So I've got two more, all right, to close mine out.
Yep, you do.
All right, here we go. So I've been pretty serious lately. I went Gladiator and went Forrest Gump. So I'm going to go a little lighter now. I'm going to go for the my third pick is going to be Toy Story. I feel like it's one of those movies that, again,
a childhood movie.
Similar to Lion King, it transcends generations. Like my son still loves Toy Story. He has Mr. Potato Head. He has Mrs. Potato Head. He's got actually Buzz Lightyear. We got in way too much trouble because we gave him Buzz Lightyear that didn't have wings. So we had to get him another Buzz Lightyear that had wings.
You got to get the legit one that costs like
All the money.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that was one of those movies that put Pixar on the map. It was I think it transcends generations. It was a good one.
Buzz and Woody.
You are a toy.
And again, back to Tom Hanks. He doesn't know.
Did you know? Fun fact: Andy's mom, her toys had the same name, Buzz and Woody.
I did not know that. That's interesting. Fun fact. Pizza Planet was dying to go to Pizza Planet. I thought that was
The Claw.
Son of a bitch. You just really. You had to say that.
That's why I said Buzz and Woody. I was waiting for somebody else to catch on.
Buzz and Woody.
It's staying in there.
I didn't even get the joke at first. I was just like, oh, Ashton with a fun fact. Now I get it. Went right over my head.
Where was Andy's dad? That's the question. Where was he at?
Oh, he died in the war.
Dude,
Oh, the war.
He died in the war.
it is interesting because in none of the movies do you ever. I feel like it feels like a divorce. It feels
they're moving.
They're getting divorced in the first one because
that's
they're
a good
moving out of that house.
Yeah.
Why would they move out of the house? Do they move to a smaller, bigger house? Do we know with the house?
get a dog.
But there's also a brand new baby.
The dog is a thing. Oh.
So what happened?
Oh, she had it with
she's a
another
little
guy.
loosey.
That's why. he
Yeah, she
left.
probably cheated.
Well, does the daughter have blonde hair? I was gonna say
it's different
Andy's
hair.
brown hair. I'm just saying.
Oh, she's definitely a hoe. She's a hoe. Jessica Rabbit, throw that out.
didn't
Andy's
say that.
mom, that's a hoe.
It's probably Sid. Sid from next door. He's probably the dad.
Did you see the thing that, well, you
Remember
did.
Sid?
No, of course I remember Sid. Are you serious? Weren't we talking about
Guardians of the
somebody's
Galaxy?
kid being like Sid or something? Who?
Yeah, well, Will
Am I allowed to
Poulter.
say that?
Will
Oh, that's
Poulter
what it
was
is.
doing an interview, and so he said,
I thought it was Marley. I was like, that doesn't make sense.
No, Will Poulter was doing an interview for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. They're talking about, his characters. Somebody came up to him randomly on the side, he was taking a piss is what it was. He was taking a piss. Some dude came up to him at the urinal and goes, "Where did I know you from? You've been in movies." Or I think this was actually at a LA thing or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't want to be, that guy and be like, I've been in this and that and this and whatever." And the guy goes, "Sid from Toy Story. That's you." That's so good.
There's so much wrong with that story. Like, it's animated.
It's animated.
Taking a piss. Will Poulter, if you'd like to talk about it, come on the show.
We'll interview. Yeah, for free. For free.
Adam
We
Poulter.
won't even charge you. Just come on in.
Free pub.
Come on the pod.
Toy Story, that's a phenomenal pick. That's a cult classic.
And the thing too is even though obviously we only get
To
one
infinity and beyond.
and beyond, to infinity and beyond, you only get one pick, so you just get the one movie. But they made legitimately good sequels, like Toy Story 2 and 3. Like they were all
The
good.
one where Andy goes to college, if that's, I think, 3 or 4, whatever it was.
Yeah,
like,
3.
We were going to college about that same time. It's like, well, that's us. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
They definitely did. I think a lot of those movies are timed with I think it was perfect that we were born in 90,
And it
like
came out
right in that year.
94.
Because every movie in the 90s was kids based. I think they planned it out if you're born in the 90s, we're going to go with it basically being our year.
In the
Tracks
same
you.
age
1 through
range,
10.
right.
So that way you would be going in then. So yeah,
Could
it
have
kinda
sworn
did.
we weren't talking about series, but whatever.
No, I mean you can pick from the series. You don't get the
Yeah, he just took the first one.
I'm just saying they did do a good job.
Because
with
number
the
2
series.
wasn't great.
Well, so that's where I was going to go. Is 2 expanded the lore, quote unquote, but they stopped after 2. And then when it was our age range, they said, well, let's bring back and go for 3.
We don't have enough money.
And I saw the trailer and I was like, please don't do this. You're going to ruin Toy Story. And it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But not only that, 4 came out and I did the exact same thing. I said, you guys should stop. You didn't learn your lesson.
You have a
with
spoon.
3.
There's a spoon as a guy.
And then I was like, oh, I didn't learn my lesson because they're still
good.
They know what they're doing. Yeah.
I was like, Forky's not a toy. What are you doing? And like, oh, that's amazing.
Kind of sad to see like Woody leave the group, right?
I think it was time for him to go. I think it's more about the toys.
So 5's gonna be Buzz.
That
by
toys.
himself.
Well, I'm.
got his own movie.
I'm sorry. I see what you're saying.
You know, but
That might be bad. That one might be bad.
Oh, it was.
that's bad. And it wasn't even. It was Chris Evans. Like, why would you not have the guy who plays Buzz play the real life Buzz? Is it because I get that it's a toy, it's supposed to be different, so the toy's not going to sound like the actual guy? But like,
But tell us your real problem with the movie, Justin. I know it's not him. What's the real problem with
the
the movie?
cat, I just didn't like the cat.
So, anyways, to finish this off, we're going to go the comedy route. This was tough, but I'm trying to think. I was thinking of like, again, Adam Sandler from that time period was killing it, but still, this one to me just rings classic, and that's Dumb and Dumber.
Oh wow.
That one just was an all-timer for me. I mean, you just whenever I think of like,
I wasn't allowed to watch it because like my mom was like, "This is too fucking stupid."
My parents.
You can't
it's
watch
called Dumb and Dumber.
Surprisingly, my parents they would probably put it up there as one of their top favorites.
That's amazing.
How many times do you say? So you're telling me there's a chance?
They're telling me there's a chance. Last night
Just a
when Tampa told me ain't gonna happen.
Well, you're
I'm
gonna go to sleep
tired.
at some
You're
point.
going. Yeah,
So
exactly.
you're telling me there's a chance?
Pull over. No, it's a cardigan. Thanks for noticing.
I'll be honest.
when he traded the blind kid the butt of the bird, that was one of the worst scenes of all time. When
Justin
was it
hasn't even seen this
Haley
movie.
Joel
Oh,
Osment?
I've seen it.
Pretty bird.
Wasn't it Haley Joel Osment?
Was he?
It was from
Yeah, I
Sixth
think
Sense.
he-
And he was petting the headless
Yeah.
bird. That was one of the most messed up but hilarious scenes of all time.
I'll be honest.
Don't you say it.
I didn't like the movie.
Oh,
I didn't.
God.
I don't know. I know I'm probably just having bad taste. I've only seen it like once all the way through. I've seen it multiple times in pieces all over, Comedy Central and stuff like that. But I don't know why. It just like, it was almost like, I felt like it was too stupid for me. Like it felt like it was like, there was also a point in my life where Jim Carrey kind of like,
Overdid it.
yeah, it was too much.
But that was not
That's
the
him.
movie.
That's who he is, though.
That wasn't the The Mask is where he didn't do it in that movie. That movie to me was amazing. I loved when the cop drinks the piss
Yeah.
and he's just staring at them like, get out, get out, get out.
Big gulps, huh? Well, see you later.
Mock, yeah. Bean, yeah. Bird, yeah.
Mocky.
I don't know why. It just didn't hit for me. I don't know why.
Oh my gosh.
Like maybe I need to go back and do it. I just don't think.
You gotta rewatch it.
I don't know.
It's so
Like it just
good.
didn't hit like the Happy Madison movies did and all that. I don't know.
No.
I don't think it was Haley Joel Osment.
Was it not?
I don't think.
Was it a blonde boy in the '90s? It's Haley Joel Osment.
Right, it should be, but no, I don't.
I was gonna say he was in every movie.
Yeah. Now, Dumb and Number 2 and all
Yeah,
that.
no, we're not
Those are
including that.
god
Those
awful.
were awful, terrible.
The
No, you take it
original,
serious.
the original was phenomenal.
Okay. Okay.
So that's my list. So I've got Gladiator, I've got Forrest Gump, I've got Toy Story, and Dumb and Dumber.
So none of you guys are going to agree with me. I don't give a shit because this is about me and not you. Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring has no business being as good as it is. It's as a child, I remember my dad dragging the family to go see this movie. My parents were fighting. Nobody was happy.
They fight
I
every
understood.
movie.
Well, that's true.
Every movie.
So nobody was happy to go. Nobody wanted to be there besides Norman. And I was like stuck saying, I am not going to like this movie. I'm upset that we are having to do this. And from the very start, with the soundtrack, the score, just feeding into this like fantasy world, I just lived in it. I was 11 years old. I never had seen anything to that production value. Then as I got older, I religiously watched this movie / know every word to the damn movie.
Ashton still hasn't seen it.
I have not. Brian's biggest regret in life He has not made me watch those movies. Although
I've tried.
The Hobbit, great movie.
No, The Hobbit sucks. The Hobbits are bad. Those movies are bad movies.
Desolation of Schmoog.
Which one was that in the
Fellowship of the Ring is
Fellowship's
number
the first
one.
one.
The only reason I'm going with number one is because I had no business watching any of them until I watched the first one, and Norm was like, "It's so good, blah blah blah." I'm like, "No, it's not. Like, why are you dragging me this stupid movie?" And go ahead.
No, I was saying, I'll be honest, I'm surprised you didn't pick 2 because that one was 2002. The reason I say that is because the first one, you didn't have Gollum. You didn't have Andy
You did have
Serkis.
Gollum, but you only had Gollum
he
for
was
a
in the
little.
background, but you didn't have the greatness that was
If
Andy
you let me
Serkis playing.
talk, if you let me cook, I'm gonna get there.
Smeagol. Smeagol. It's like my precious.
My precious.
Yeah. You've seen some girls that look like that, you know, on Tinder. Yeah.
Probably smash a couple. No. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Don't want to admit to it. So yeah, I knew that I was not going to like this movie. I was required to go see it in theaters, and I found out it was 3 hours long. I was like, are you kidding me right now? So I'm watching this movie, and they get to the Rivendell scene where they just got the ring to the elves, and that's the end. Like, I'm watching this and I'm realizing this movie should be over. The story's been told. And then I realize we're only been sitting here for an hour and a half. Like, I've got a whole nother movie to watch with it. How is this going to keep my interest? Gandalf dies. A fucking Balrog shows up out of nowhere with a freaking whip, is messing shit up. It's just,
Is Gandalf the guy who looks like Dumbledore?
how dare you? How
it's true.
fucking dare you? Gandalf came first. The movie is the reason why I took the time to
Dumbledore
read
exists
the book.
because of Gandalf.
Dumbledore would not exist
Dumbledore.
without Gandalf. So you're clear.
So which one's Harry Potter?
Wow. You know, because you love Harry Potter.
Do you think Frodo and Sam ever consummated the relationship?
So that's where I was gonna go. Is the movie doesn't
talking about this movie?
the movie doesn't end. The movie doesn't end. The story is not over because there's 2 more 3-hour-long movies that you need to go watch. But they summarize it so well between these 2 characters that you start the movie off with. That one is like the butler to one dude, and then by the end of it, just as dudes, they have such a friendship, such a relationship, just a bond.
And the sexual tension's off the charts.
I don't think that's there for me, like it is for you. But genuinely,
I said I wouldn't, Mr. Frodo. I said I wouldn't. I don't mean to.
I found true friendship in that movie, and it made me want to be a better friend.
All right, Ashton. Final pick for you.
So, like you, I've gone pretty serious or action type of movies. So I'm going to change it up and go a little comedy here. I think we can all appreciate this one. Back in 2001,
You son of a bitch! Don't you take my pick?
we were introduced to a character that
Have we referenced this movie already?
probably
Spaceship's on either of you guys' list?
2001 was a great year for comedies.
it was.
Great year, phenomenal.
And we were introduced to a gentleman that
Don't know where you're going.
I think.
his family didn't love him. But,
Damn it! You took this is my pick.
but we loved him.
No, I love this. No.
Whether you pronounced it Dear Tay or
No,
Dirt,
this
I'm
hurts.
picking with my last pick, Mr. Joe Dirt.
That's
Life's Garden, dig it.
Life's a Garden, dig it.
Real talk.
a good pick. Great pick. Great pick. That is the only movie. Sorry, the only movie that if it's on Comedy Central back in when we were in high school and stuff, I would stop whatever I'm doing and I'm watching the rest of the movie.
It's not true.
Great.
You'd stop her. Then you do shit.
Well, if
I'm your sister. I'm your sister.
I'm your sister. Yes.
I got him.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, we've referenced this movie multiple times tonight. I even said maybe one day UNICEF will get into the whatever business. Yes.
I got the poo on me.
Talking to my guy all wrong. You do it again, I stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Oh, I thought you had a Hemi. It's in the shop. I stole this rig.
Husker do's, Husker don'ts, with or without the scooter stick. Anyway,
It's a good one. It's a great movie.
it's
I'm gonna get you a wham burger.
It's a French fries. The soundtrack's amazing. It's a great redneck rock that I can listen to.
I think it also
Cast phenomenal.
I think I also like it because
Kid Rock's in
there's
it.
a lot of my extended family
No,
that reminds me of a lot of my extended family. My mom's son.
You know, I heard it sucked, and it hurts me because I've never seen it. I never saw the sequel that they made back in like 2015.
Don't watch
Is it bad? Will it ruin?
It's that bad.
See,
They go back in time.
yeah, I never saw that. I never saw the Blue Mountain State movie that came out the same year in 2015, and I was
We were talking about Homeward Bound earlier, and the dog luckily living. When the dog dies in Joe Dirt, oh my god,
nuts stuck to the porch.
Yeah, with the spatula. With the spatula just.
that's just quality. That's quality cinematography, is what that is.
That's something everyone can do.
The movie's so good. So many
Keep on,
quotable
keep on.
lines.
Keep on keeping
It's like, I don't know. There's points where it could override like even some of like Adam Sandler's movies. For me, is like my favorite comedy of all time. It's so good. Like to me, it's like, I don't know. I think it's just like so perfectly crafted of stupidity, and like the Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle playing Little Him is perfect.
Brandy. Can we?
He's like, what's that? We're talking to this mic?
I got a backup mic right here. Ryan doesn't have either.
That's my meteor. No, that's just
Oh crap! It went out again. Oh no!
that's my meteor right there. No, that's just big. Shit.
I ate off that. He's like he's dipping like fries.
He's got the ketchup on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to round out my pick, we're gonna laugh a little bit with Joe Dirte.
Joe Dirte. All right, Justin, bring us home.
Well, Ashton stole my pick. That was going to be my final pick in the draft.
All right, hold on, real quick.
Fantastic move.
Time out. Ashton did such an incredible job of explaining it up front. I thought you were picking Harry Potter. His family didn't love it. You were like laying it out so slow, and I was just like, this dude's gonna pick Harry Potter for real. He said comedy.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Maybe that might be a comedy to some people. Okay, this one's
It's hilarious that Hermione didn't get bent over in the Chamber of Secrets.
Well, I took my.
In the first one, she was like
8.
and guess what?
But it's okay.
She's underage the entire time until like the last
Yeah.
movie.
It's okay.
It's okay. You were young
She's
too.
real. It's okay.
So I took all my comedies. I had some comedies. I already took a comedy out there. So I think for this one, I'm gonna go with. This one's tough. Okay, I think I'm going to go with kind of what leads us into a lot of what we have today. Is this movie was, I think, monumental in like changing a little bit of the culture when it comes to movie creation. Some Martin Scorsese would say for the bad. He would hate it. He would piss on it.
Oh, I know.
Oh, I do
But-
too. Schindler's List. That's so good. That was great.
But
It's on my
Dwight
list.
is gonna hate this pick.
He's absolutely gonna hate this pick, but I love this pick. I actually rewatched this movie with my son, and like my wife, who hates on this movie all the time, hates on the actor. But after she watched it a little bit, and I caught her, my son and I were sitting on the couch watching this movie, and I caught her a couple times walking out and stopping and just watching it. But I'm gonna go with Spider-Man 2002. Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is amazing. I think if I could really pick, it would be Spider-Man 2. That's one of the best, like, of that kind of movie. But even just like good movies, period, it's so good.
So time out, because you're not wrong in my opinion. But
that's
these
the worst
two
pick ever.
were under the impression you were picking something
I
else.
thought you were going Iron Man. Just
Iron Man
because.
2008.
Is it? Okay. I knew you were going superhero.
Yeah, but Spider-Man was the one, or was X-Men before Spider-Man? I'm not sure.
No,
but
I think Spider-Man was first, and then.
But like X-Men, when X-Men came out, it was like Hugh Jackman's good, even though he's nothing like the real Wolverine or the Wolverine should be.
He's nothing like the real one.
Yeah,
I believe it.
But what I mean is he's nothing like how Wolverine actually was, because like
Short,
Wolverine's
stocky,
5'3",
and-
short, ugly
yeah.
dude. Jackman's 6'2", 6', whatever.
So you're telling me I can play Wolverine?
Yeah, you actually would be a better Wolverine than Hugh Jackman. Maybe lose a little bit in this section. Like I would do that too. Then you could be him. But actually, you got the hair.
He's got
you are hairy
in his skeleton. He
Actually,
doesn't
yeah,
have to
you would
wear
be
that.
more accurate.
I'll show you.
I love that movie. Don't get me wrong, I did love that movie.
So good. Like,
But that can't be on this list. Like, with all the
What?
movies that came out from 89 to 2002,
Okay, I tell you what.
that can't.
I tell you
that
what.
doesn't make the list.
Dwight's right. Dwight's right. You know why?
Dwight.
Because you
Go
can't
with
pick
go.
Spider-Man without picking what's the Iceman? Mr. Freeze.
That's bad.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Batman.
I know, but I'm saying you cannot pick Spider-Man before you pick
movie
Batman.
sucked
movie was
ass.
That is my
okay.
entire
That was
purpose.
Batman and Robin.
I honestly thought
If
he
it
was
was
I
a
thought he
Batman movie, I
I
bet
thought
Dwight
he was gonna pick one of the old
Batman.
Batman.
Batman and Robin was
How much of that?
It
How
was
much of
Batman
you
and Robin?
picking that movie is because Nickelback was on the soundtrack? They had
Oh,
the-
dude, that is a great
Wait,
song.
what? I'm
I
sorry.
am a
Say
hero.
that
A hero can
Is that in the first one?
Yes, yes.
I did not know that. Dude, the Spider-Man 2 soundtrack is amazing.
The first one's good. The second one is whew.
What?
Train. It's made like all of it's great.
Yeah.
Vindicated.
Vindicated,
Yeah.
that's all- yeah.
But yeah, you love Nickelback.
I didn't know Nickelback was on there.
I like.
I honestly,
I don't want to.
I actually don't know
could
what.
save.
I had no idea that song was that song written for that movie.
Yes.
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 I had no
I
clue.
saw the music
wish I
video on
would've-
VH1 all the time.
I didn't know. I did not know that.
VH1, not MTV.
So I was a kid. I remember actually I saw this movie at the drive-in, and I also, but I didn't even know like Spider-Man or any of that outside of like seeing like the actually I've seen because I picked Black Cat, the '90s cartoon, but I got the little Spider-Man web shooter toy, and all I know is I had a blast with it out of the all the rednecks were out there throwing beer bottles and smoking weed the entire time. I'm a little 12-year-old kid out there trying to enjoy some Spider-Man.
Trying to-
So Willem Dafoe is he the
Willem Dafoe, James Franco as his son.
is
Green
is that
Goblin.
the only
Yeah.
villain in that one?
Yeah, and that was no. The first two is only one building. So, well, I guess kind of Willem Dafoe's in all three of them as like the dead him talking to his son. But Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is fantastic. I mean,
Was it just the
Garfield
shooting ropes? Like you're still trying to shoot ropes at like women?
yeah, I still
Trying
try to shoot my shot. I try to go right in there.
So
Now it's just like
So
I got two kids. It's shot
there was something that happened with
enough,
Kirsten Dunst and the Upside Down Kiss, and I could totally see her nipples
but
through
she
the shirt.
is not. Oh,
That's what I was gonna say. It
Yeah,
did not
that-
pan out long term for me.
That's the biggest disappointment of that movie. The casting
Oh,
for
no.
Mary Jane. Mary Jane is supposed to be like this badass, hot bombshell, whatever, like redhead. Like
Right.
go back to last week.
It's a theme.
And then we got Kirsten Dunst, who's blonde and homely and not the
What's
most.
homely mean? What's the definition of homely?
You know,
at the
Ashton,
time I kind of agree with you. I was like, okay, I kind of
Going back and watching that being
12
like
to 14-year-old me.
of the options. Well, okay, here's one thing too.
I'm glad we somehow turned it back into the sexual aspect.
Yeah, we go right back into sexualizing women. But like, if you go to
trying to talk like men.
the reboot that was terrible with Andrew Garfield was good as an actor. Reboot was terrible.
No, I love those movies.
Emma Stone would be a good Mary Jane. I don't think she's super hot, but I think she's a redhead, and I think she's got the personality for it.
I do think it's funny they got a blonde to play the redhead and the redhead to
So
play
what
the
is
blonde.
So
Yeah.
that brings. So what do you think of Zendaya being the new MJ?
I am in no way sexualizing MJ in the new movie.
Yeah,
I
there's
just
no
appreciate
sexualization because they're
her
high
as an
school
actress.
kids, which I talked about last week.
I did not watch
Is they
Euphoria like
probably
Dwight.
no, they were. They were going to college.
I watch Euphoria.
They were going from high school to college. They're 18. They're legal, son. I mean, you weren't 18 when you graduated, but
was
most
17.
people are 18 when they graduate.
Some of those kids didn't graduate. Some of those kids were junior year. Just so you know, I just think when I think back on that time period, there's just so many better movies.
You
I'm
picked.
sorry.
Okay. that's-
So I don't.
We're supposed to get content. This is a
think it's
debate.
fair.
It's a draft and a debate.
I think it's fair though too because I chose Lord of the Rings for me, and I know that's not for anybody else.
Oh yeah, I definitely.
But like
think-
Spider-Man
No, but
as like a young adult / going to be a teenager, like watching that for the first time, like he's a nerdy dude who like kicked ass and got physically fit and got the chick. Like, why would that not be at 11 years
He
old?
doesn't get her in the
Like-
first one. The first one, she wants to, and he says no.
Oh, he walks
He
away.
rejects her.
Oh, even
Hey,
better.
It's also the story of Uncle.
You realize that
She's
you,
a
bit of a
you're too
tease.
good.
Well, the
for her.
biggest part is the story that he should realize he's a bit too good for her. But like Uncle Ben dying, the responsibility and all that crap,
Yeah.
and picking that over anything for his Uncle Ben, who it's his fault that he died, but
we find that out.
we find that out. But no, what he says in the second one, he tells. Well, it's kind of weird because he tells.
Dwight's so upset.
he tells Aunt May, I could have stopped him. And the only way that makes sense is if Aunt May was like, I know you're Spider-Man and you could have. Otherwise, she'd be like, you'd be fucking shot too. So it doesn't make sense. Anyway,
He's got spidey sense. Anyway,
but you didn't know that.
That's it. All right, all good movies. All right, so vote who had the best list.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, obviously it was me, but
Spidey.
if you want to vote for who's second, that's fine too. All right, let's get into the bourbon. So we have gone on so long, and I love bourbon so much that mine is already gone.
So would you like to have these two?
No.
Like, I mean, take some so that way you can taste.
Just drink what you can, because I already know. I've already picked which I think. So here we go. Like I said, we are reviewing two bourbons from the same distillery. One is allocated, one is something you can find at your liquor barn, Total Wine, Kroger, whatever, whatever your local liquor store is. As I mentioned, it's the first bottled bourbon. This is the distillery. Stayed in business during Prohibition because it had medicinal purposes to it, or so they claimed. And the distillery is Old Forester.
Are you claiming that it doesn't have medicinal purposes? I feel better already.
Yeah, exactly. It numbs your pain.
should I try the heart one or the non-heart one?
You should try whichever one you want. But what we're going to do is we are going to reveal the two, and then we're going to say what our favorite is, and we'll figure out which one it is. I think this one's going to be a lot closer than last episode, because I do think that the non-allocated bourbon is, it is known even to bourbon like snobs as a good bourbon. So I think this is going to be really close. So here we go. Let's do the reveal.
Yeah, what are the bottles? That's what I want to
Is allocated one that's fucking me up?
So, not necessarily.
Okay.
But probably.
Because I felt that in my nostril.
All right, so the non-allocated bourbon is Old Forester's 1920 Prohibition style.
I am impressed.
So a little bit of facts about this one. So this one pays homage to Prohibition. Obviously, we talked about that, and that was when whiskey had to be bottled at 100 proof. This one, as you can see, it's 115 proof, and we talked about this at the beginning of the show. It was barreled at 100 proof, but it came up to 115 because of the maturation process. The mash bill on this is 72% corn, 18% rye, 10% barley, and we don't know the age. It's not age stated. What's that?
Barley.
It's non-age stated, so we don't know how old, but typically when you're talking about Old Forester, you're thinking about like 5 to 6 to 7 years, somewhere between 5 and 7. So it's not on the older side. The allocated bourbon, which you're just not going to find anywhere. And I don't even know if they make these anymore because it was a special release. This is the Old Forester 150th anniversary. Comes in this pretty little tube here. And that was to celebrate Old Forester's 150th anniversary, obviously. And what they did here is they took 150 barrels. The master distiller at the time, her name is Jackie Zykan. She's no longer there. She hand selected 150 barrels and made 3 batches of it. This is batch 1. You're looking at a similar proof on this. You're also probably looking at a similar age, but it was that these barrels were hand selected. They were known to be more, they were more fruity, more whatever she was looking for, and batched for 3 different batches. So that's what we've got today. Again, it's same mash bill, same age about, and probably just similar, and it's also similar proof. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be close.
You said similar proof. How similar?
So all right, let's look at that. So we've got 125.6 proof for the Old Forester 150th. So it is gonna be a little bit higher proof than this, which is 115. So you're looking at about a 10% proof difference. 10 proof difference, which is still pretty close.
Right. Yeah. You guys want to talk about it? What do you taste?
I want to hear what Ashton and Justin think specifically.
What do you
and to let you guys know, we know that's what we're drinking. We don't know which is in which glass. So one has a heart sticker on it, one does not. So here we go.
They are very, very similar to me. The one without the heart, I think, is a little less strong, I guess.
Start kicking in the
Yeah.
ass. Yeah, the heart one's kind of fucked me up a little bit. But I think I took too much. I think I got a little bit too much in my nostril region and my throat.
The one with the heart.
Not supposed to snort it.
The one,
I think it is.
the one with the heart definitely, hits hard. I mean, the color is quite similar. I don't really see much of a difference.
But you did say earlier that you did see it.
It's kind of
No,
like
I didn't. I haven't seen a color difference at all.
this one looks a lot darker to me.
I don't know if it's just
With the one with the heart or without?
The one with the heart.
Okay.
At least
You think it looks lighter?
darker.
If I had to guess right now, the one with the heart is the allocated and the higher proof.
You're right.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay. What do you get? Obviously, you said you're getting a lot of heat,
Like I said,
which is not necessarily a good thing.
like like I said, it kind of feels like, I don't know, if I didn't have tonsils, like they'd be hitting the back of the throat pretty hard. Like that's what it feels like to me. It feels like I am just getting taken out back against my will to some point, but I keep coming back for
Like the
more.
Shawshank
Does that make sense? Like
Redemption.
the other one
The
that's
sisters have got you in trouble.
yeah, the sisters got me. And these are the two sisters. This one a little bit easier on me. A little bit like I can. That one I might
Could you
say.
call her old turquoise if you wanted to?
I could call her old turquoise, but this one, that one's got a little turquoise on it. But that's not the allocated one, right?
Right.
But this one, I don't know. Like, I just feel more of a hit. Like I said, it's taking me to the woodshed a little bit.
Do you like it?
But do you like it?
It's weird because I keep coming back to it. Like the first time it was a bit much.
Yeah.
Like it was a bit of a shock to the system.
Yeah.
Because it
was for
doesn't.
me.
It doesn't hit in the mouth. It hits in the back of the throats. Save that for later.
Yep.
But that's where I felt it. Like right when it's about to go down, and right when you can just feel it right there. That's where I feel the hit.
It burns you.
Yeah,
I don't really get a whole lot of flavor out of either of them because they are a lot stronger. I guess.
Oh, I taste a lot. You need to refine your palate, my
yeah.
friend.
Like this one.
Granted, I've been drinking Trulies for the last 2 hours.
That's a good point too.
So and
Shout
again,
out Truly.
one thing that's worth noting too. This
Sponsorship.
I feel like my nose is
this
breathing fire at some
1920,
point.
the 1920, you can get it anywhere. You can get it. It's going to cost you between $55-$60.
Right.
You can find it anywhere. This Old Forester 150th, even at retail, you are going to be paying $160, $170. So you're paying, 3 times the cost at retail. At secondary, you're paying close to $400. So even if they're close, you're paying way more for one over the other. So, all right, Brian, what do you think?
I think Ashton's right. I assume you said what Ashton said.
Yeah. I'm a follower, not a leader.
Like, I taste the barrel. Like
On which
it tastes, I'm just saying what Justin would normally say if he didn't already have a refined palate.
I took wood.
No, like genuinely, I am kind of astounded at how close in taste they taste. Because I would think the 150th should be like miles better. I like it. It's good. It's hotter, in my opinion. Not in a bad way, but like I feel it. Like it's giving me the hug.
Yeah, there's a heat to it.
And you're assuming that the 150th has the heart, correct?
Yes, exactly. So this is the 150th, in my opinion.
It's shooting
That
a big.
10 proof difference is wow. It's astounding. I mean, I wouldn't think it would be that strong.
It's shooting a big hot steamy one in the back of my throat. I'm telling you that. Like it's so bad. Like not so bad, but it's like so hot and steamy that it's coming out through my nose. I can feel it.
Honestly, my nose has been a little stuffed.
It's
up.
clearing it up.
It just cleared it up.
Yeah, it's. I'm not. When I say I don't mean it's like a bad.
Why
Like
don't they
oh,
prescribe this to?
It's medicine.
but I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about it. But like what I mean is, it is kind of like a because I also have a problem with like my breathing through my nose. I can't do it. It's kind of helping it. Maybe this
Hey, you
is
should be
medicine.
drunk all the time.
I might just get fucked up every night.
Dwight, tell me.
Are you getting any flavors?
Yeah, that's why I was drinking it. I didn't say anything.
Can I be honest? Even like we've done 2 weeks of this before,
Yep.
the flavor's still not much different. Like I'm not like you could give me any of these and I'd be like, it's fine. Like outside of the other effects, the flavor as a whole, I don't see it.
I think you'll get there. I think you will get there. I really do.
I got
All
more
right.
flavors out of the previous weeks than this one.
Oh, okay, interesting. All right. I did get a ton of flavor, and again, I'm a huge Four Roses fan. The first week, I got a ton of flavor from that Four Roses barrel strength.
I would agree with that, and I didn't necessarily appreciate it as much, but I definitely tasted it.
And that's what I appreciate.
You're a rye guy.
I like ryes. I'm not going to say I'm a rye guy, but there are a few ryes out there that I do love. I love Midwinter's Night's Dram. I think Michter's does a great rye. Their toasted rye is out of this world good.
Yeah. I'm not.
Jack Daniels did a great rye. Their barrel proof rye in 2020 was amazing. So yeah, I mean, and we'll do a rye. We'll do a rye eventually, but
I think I need to expand my palate because I get that spice. I get that like overt burn. And I'm immediately like turned off where I want to like the sweet and the smooth. And that's why I was drinking Weller 12 year and thinking, okay, that's, not high proof, but it's definitely a good bourbon. And then I drank just the 120, or what is it? 1910, 1920. And, wow, like it kicks you in the mouth. And it's like, I'm actually a man. Like I'm drinking something that's putting hair on my chest.
It feels like you go back to,
this?
But then I drank this. It's like, where'd my balls go?
Yeah.
but do you get any, like, can you like distinguish
Cherry.
notes?
I don't normally.
Say that again?
A cherry.
Yes.
I don't normally
like a cherry
taste-
wood or like a cherry flavor, like a cherry
Or
the
for
fruit.
both?
Honestly, for both, I feel like because I literally just drank this one right now on the 150th for
I didn't
sure.
want to sound like an idiot, but I honestly was kind of like,
No, I love bourbon. I love tasting bourbon. I love enjoying it. I can't give you tasting notes, and it's clearly cherry.
Yeah.
Like
I didn't know to describe it as cherry, but I could see it as like a.
rich mahogany.
I was going more for a walnut, honestly.
Ooh. I don't know what the walnut tastes like.
Tastes these nuts.
70% of the
So
time.
Dwight just wants a clear shot. to
not
be
at
able to-
all. Like, believe it or not, I don't have a ton to add. I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. I do think the heart is the 150th. And I am a little bit, so just,
You don't know?
I don't know. No, I don't know. We're going to find out.
Okay.
He just knew
So we're going to look really dumb if
I
this
agree.
is wrong.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
I'm a little bit of a proof snob, so I know a lot of people like 100 proof and less. I am kind of that. I don't want anything unless it's a fantastic bourbon. I don't want anything under 100 proof. So I do like a higher proof bourbon. And so I prefer the one with the heart on it, which I do think is the 150th, because I think it just gives you that extra, it gives me extra flavors in this one. Like,
There's a little bit
I
more
like
of a
it.
tingle on my tongue. left over.
Exactly. It gives you more of a finish. It gives you like the 1920, assuming this is the 1920. It's a good, like bold bourbon. It does pack a punch, which I think is what a lot of people like about it. Even bourbon enthusiasts like 1920 because it does pack a good punch. It does have some good flavor. What I think makes the 150th special, in my opinion, is that extra flavor that comes with that proof. And I agree with you guys. I think it's a cherry bomb. I get all cherry. And
It's impressive that you've not had the bourbon to drink for quite some time, and you can give exactly what I'm tasting right now.
yeah, I get with this, I still get a little cherry, but I get more of just a muted flavor.
Yeah,
It's more muted. I get a little bit of your, Old Forester's known for its banana note. I get a little bit of that, but not a ton.
I can feel it on my lips a little bit. Like if I let it sit there for a little bit, like while I'm drinking, if I, don't just swallow immediately.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you should do. I don't think you should swallow immediately. I think you should, I think you should let it I think you should let it
Stick it in your mouth for a while and just let it
float around in your mouth for a bit.
Sometimes you gotta love it like brandy.
All right, guys.
There's the video intro.
Big reveal here. So again, we're gonna find out if I'm really dumb for spending.
Is there a heart at the bottom of one of those?
Yep.
Am I spending $60
All right.
on the shitty bourbon that you
Did I spend crazy amounts of money on this bourbon?
Yes.
Holy shit.
There's no way.
No way.
Are you serious right
Hold
now?
on, guys. Hold on,
No.
guys. Wait a minute.
Wait.
She must have put it on the bottom of the actual. Hold on a second. I gotta open the
thank
tube.
goodness.
I was like, we look so
suck.
dumb.
We
Hold
were
on a
about
second.
to.
Ashton, will you do the honors? I was gonna say because I was like,
Panic in his
we
face
look so
as-
stupid.
Dude,
right.
yeah.
And there we go.
Okay,
So
there
for all
it
the
is.
viewers,
There it is.
there's the heart. All right, so we are 2 for 2, guys. I'm actually impressed with this. I'm not gonna lie. I think we're 2
Not
for 2.
complete idiots.
Yeah, I kind of feel
But I
like
think-
maybe Brian shouldn't have. Well, Brian kind of answered what it was before, but like I think Ashton and I both kind of made comments that we thought it would be the higher one, but like you kind of were just like, that's what it is. Yeah, that's it.
I couldn't deny it.
No,
After
no,
I drank
no.
it and he
Yeah.
said it, I was like, dude's not wrong. Like,
Yeah.
he clearly got it.
Okay,
Like,
yeah, that's true. I was trying to remember. I was like, but I just know you're more fluent in this and have it a lot. You know what I mean? So it's like,
So-
yeah, I feel like once Brian's like, yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm like, okay, well,
I'm going to be real honest. I would fancy myself to be able to taste the difference in quality. I knew this was definitely it because it was a higher proof because Dwight told me so.
yeah.
And the tastes are way too close.
See,
Like,
part of me
that
is
bothers
wondering
me for
if
me.
like the punch it packs and that
Yeah.
if that's going to be something for a more allocated one or if it's going to be more of a like, hey, it's a lot smoother and easier to drink because it's,
So just in general, like
higher
cast
quality.
strength, like meaning it came straight from the barrel,
yeah.
is highly sought after.
Okay.
Like what you get with the 1920 is diluted. And to get to the right proofage. That way, all of them are all the same standard.
So the stronger is probably going to be the better.
So the stronger is more likely to be more sought after, which makes it more
Makes
allocated.
sense, but yeah.
And if you are a proof snob where you want barrel proof, there is tons of barrel proof bourbon out there that is sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
So
Elijah Craig, man.
Elijah Craig barrel proof is it's not like on everybody's shelf, but it's not the hardest thing to find.
I was in
One-
Florida.
Yeah.
They had it everywhere.
Everywhere. And
They don't have anything in Florida. They
Elijah
have
Craig barrel
bourbon.
proof is always 12 years old too. So you're getting not just a barrel proof bourbon from
Right.
one of the best distilleries in the world in Heaven Hill, but you're also getting a 12-year bourbon. So it's one of the best values in the market.
Yeah.
Another thing, rare breed barrel proof. I mean, you can find it anywhere. It's a $60 bourbon. But you know what I think? I'm impressed with
Turkey?
us guys. Wild Turkey.
Yeah.
Yep. Is we have been 2 for 2 for finding like, hey, this is the difference between something that's allocated versus something that's good, but maybe it's a little bit more muted, a little bit easier sipper. Which I think this is important to find that out, but also it's also worth noting like, hey, if I've got money, is this really worth paying 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times what this is?
Right.
Which, here I think probably not. Even though I prefer this, I don't know if I would pay $400 if I can get this for 60. So
Yep.
Next episode, we're going to let Mr. Brian take over the bourbon, and he's going to probably pick something that's
Super sweet and
Super
girly,
sweet
and Dwight's
and-
not going to like it all.
and I'm going to like it, but it's going to be interesting because I think it's going to be harder to tell when you've got multiple lower proof bourbons. So stay tuned for that.
We are going to dedicate this episode to a special someone. Justin, I'll let you kind of fill in everyone. I know we have a lot of friends and Teak, for me, you, and Brian, Teak alumni that watch and have been watching. So
Yeah.
let you kind of go from there.
Yeah, I would say I appreciate the support that we've gotten from our brothers of fraternity at Tau Kappa Epsilon at the University of Louisville.
Alpha Chi.
And the reason that we bring this up is that we just lost one of our dear close friends, fraternity brothers, and former roommate of Brian and myself. A man who himself would have fit very well in doing something like this. Personality wise, he would outshine anybody.
Yes.
There's very few people that in the world that could outtalk somebody like Graham Eustace would, and that's the man I'm talking about that we are honoring today, or hopefully we can say honor with the show that we've had today, but definitely dedicating that to Graham Eustace. Passed away all of a sudden. Just recently, and it's a difficult time for his family, those that love him and that are close to him. But definitely just wanted to take a moment. He himself would have loved to do the bourbon part with us for sure. Definitely.
He would be way drunker and way more fun than all of us.
Yes, he would have. Yes, he would. He would have said a lot more ridiculous things that we have.
There's a chicken wing in the bed.
There's a chicken. I forgot that. Yes, I forgot. Holy crap! I forgot that he was at the bachelor party for my wedding, and then he left chicken wings in the bed.
I was supposed to sleep in that bed with him. I was supposed to get in that bed, and there was a chicken wing laying in the bed. He was just sleeping with him.
Because of that.
There's definitely only ever been one Graham Eustace. There will ever only be one Graham Eustace. He was. I was at the funeral home earlier today, and I heard a couple people say he was one of a kind, and that's very, very true. He was special one. He will be missed by many, many people.
Yeah.
And like you said, his family and friends and everyone are in our thoughts and prayers.
Yep.
I mean this in the kindest way possible. Whatever. Like he did that religiously.
Oh, he would say, Graham would say that. Yeah. Whenever you're trying to like talk about something, go on. Whatever. Just like rush it out.
Come on, hurry up. His brain moves so fast. His
Yeah, he
mouth
was very
trying to
intelligent.
keep up.
Yeah.
Like I never physically fought another person more in my entire life than Graham, and he outweighed me like at least 2-1.
Yeah, that was when you were not.
And I was a big dude. I mean, I was
No,
big
not
dude,
back
but
then.
I wasn't a big dude back then. I was somewhat strong, but no, that man, he could throw down, he could drink, he could have a good time, he could steal your women because he could talk out of his ass.
He did.
Big fan, and tonight I'm just really sad for my friend.
I'm still upset he didn't share his Uber XL with us that night.
That's what I was trying to say. Uber XL.
Yes.
Oh, the Uber XL. Well, all of us, there were like 8 of us trying to get a freaking thing. He got an Uber
got one
XL
person
by
in there.
himself. Oh, that was so good.
So context: Justin's bachelor party. We were at a restaurant, and we're leaving to go to a bar or something. And Graham's like, "I'm going back to the hotel, whatever." He orders an Uber. The group of like 8 of us order an Uber. Our Ubers get there at the same time. The group of 8's Uber shows up, and it's like a Toyota Prius or something.
It's a Honda Civic, I think.
It's
Yeah.
a Honda Civic.
It was actually worse than that because we didn't know what he had ordered and we didn't know what we
Right.
ordered.
So
His showed up first, and we're like, "Oh, sweet, the huge
Clearly
Escalade."
It was a Denali. It was a
Escalade
Denali.
shows up, and we're like, "Oh, cool. Like, see you, Graham. We'll see you later." The driver rolls down the window. It's like, Graham here, and Graham's like, "See ya." And we're just like watching him like get into this massive Escalade.
For 5 minutes, I remember sitting in the parking lot like, let's just switch. Like, you take this
Yes.
Honda Civic,
Right.
let us take the Escalade.
Yeah.
It's like, no.
No, I'm pretty drunk and I gotta go. I gotta leave a chicken wing in the
That
bed.
was so funny. I love that, man. That was, yeah.
God bless.
Good times, but definitely, cheers to him and his family.
Bennett, if you're watching this, we love you. We're praying for you.
Yep. Thank you once again, everybody, for tuning into another edition of the Now We Can Talk Like Men podcast. If you feel so inclined, please do us a favor. Smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon, stay notified for all of our latest videos. You can follow us on all of our social media. We have Instagram. We got everything now. TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, all that.
Grindr.
Now, neither of those exist anymore. Now We Can Talk Like Men. You can follow us individually if you want, even though I think everybody else is like private. But you can follow at Justin Sofro, at BBowls90, at DDYoung2, and at Coach A Bailey on Twitter. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next time.
We're so getting canceled.